Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
So long as I'm in this Oval Office.
Oh, what are you doing there? Hold on a second. I thought that thing would go away. Yeah, well, that's still good.
Me? You call me that thing? How impolite.
Thing you do. What's up, girl? How's it been? So apparently somebody lit themselves on fire. If you watch InfoWars, you know, and well, I guess they're in the military, but you can't. Is it if you said thank you for your service? Is that too soon? But I'm sorry.
I thought it was going to be. I thought it was a distasteful prank video, and he was carrying what looked to be a water bottle, but which is apparently an accelerant of some sort. And I thought he was going to go dump water on something and go and make a joke out of it. And then very quickly, you realized it was not a joke. So what era of history is this evocative of? It was there were certain
70s Czechoslovakia, of course. Oh yeah, that too. I was thinking. I go more recent. I think of the Czech Republic in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s.
Well, educate me.
The Velvet Revolution. I have some videos on my channel actually talking about that. I think like In Acid and Dreams or some of the series talking about the Prague Spring, and the Velvet Revolution happened mainly because there was the Soviet control of the Czech Republic, which was a state of the Soviet Union. So you can imagine like California or Florida or something like that. But they were doing their own thing quite a bit. And so they basically said you had a week to get everyone out of the country who was like, because they'd studied a lot of things. You had like universities in Prague, and they had promoted ideas like socialist agriculture and, free market enterprise, not really, but corporate social responsibility for sure. And so these ideas were they were pervasive in the Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia, but they weren't in Russia. And so Russia said you have about a week until we can get our tanks there. So then they closed the borders, which is why you have in Saturday Night Live, Steve Martin and like two wild and crazy guys, right?
Two European crazy guys. Yeah.
Yeah, those are immigrants from the Czech Republic. They're characters because people were dealing with people. Hey, look, Bernie made it. What's up, Bernie? How you doing, bro? We're talking about too wild and crazy.
Well, the conditions that make. Oh, by the way, hey Bernie, sorry not to be totally antisocial, right? I'm just excited to be online here or streaming. What's up?
Well, they wore these outfits and everything, but the point was like these were crazy intellectuals who were trying. They could speak 2 languages at least. They were maybe 4, and they came to America because they had to, and they were escaping the Soviet clampdown. But not everyone could do that, right? And so
Now, when you say that they spoke 4 or 5 languages, that might be a little generous. It's they could communicate.
Even too, that's multi-language is more than I even have right now, which I regret. Like,
no, but I'm saying that
after my parents when I was a kid trying to force me to learn French and Russian on top of English, but I was a stubborn, lazy child that was like, no, I'm confusing the two, and just gave up. But
yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe we have one language with an extensive vocabulary and nuanced grammars for different cases. And those cases
there is a second natural language of body language that you can use between yourself and any animal, even, right? Make eye contact, right?
No, animals respond to it more than humans, don't they? You know?
I think that's a good point. Like, I think natural language and human language, there might actually be a difference. Some people say that they're the same thing, and I think that's a really interesting concept that everything can be one language. But if you think of the nuanced difference of communication based on experiences and meta tags, like that's already such a huge difference. Even though every language then
Minions, you know, like Minion language. Minion language. Yeah. It sounds kind of like a hybrid of 4 different pigeonized creolized languages, which are words that have different historical context. But in the linguistic meaning, pigeonization means that you're reducing the grammar of it into kind of individual phrases, and then creolization means that you're blending words from other languages, which is one of the topics that I have to cover, kind of interesting historical perspective of technology words, that specifically what words become universal across language barriers. Sometimes they are
on your screen, looking into your screen, looking at your screen. This is like, I have too much ADD for that.
Well, here, I'll do, I did full screen on the, here, go back to that for a quick second.
Can you zoom in at all? Because I'd love to see it.
Probably. Let's see. There we go.
Ooh, sweet. Cool.
So as far as predictive programming, and so just to finish the idea on broken languages, in the show Faulty Towers with John Cleese in the 70s in Britain, there was a busboy, or there was kind of the attendant at the hospital, and he claimed he was Italian, and you could communicate with him in short phrases in a number of languages, but whether or not he actually spoke any language in full is, you know, I guess remains to be seen. But what you're looking at here, so what do you guys see? Should I just so in 2017, the docufiction Smartass, which was a movie, includes a supporting character referred to only as Z, and he in the movie he's you go to him if you need something to turn you on, man, sort of thing. And so, but without fail, in every single one of the scenes in which he appears, he has an animal pelt headdress, which is kind of Kafka-esque, because you accept that there's bouncing balls following the character, even though, you know, and it's throughout the duration of the story.
It's very pre-QAnon shaman, and yet interesting that the character is, you know, shamanically, you know, giving people hallucinogenic experiences, right?
I'm glad you brought up the QAnon shaman, because that's the first thing that came to my mind in seeing this too. But it's like, so
right, and now you imagine you're him looking. If you're him looking at this, see, there's something called main character syndrome, and in the DSM they call it Messiah complex, and I think they need to have a differential, because there's one that, you know, you had the delusion that you're Jesus and that you or a Messiah or a divine figure, but main character syndrome means that you keep seeing in the media that you're watching things that are a little too on the nose, and, you know, it'd be pretty easy to data scrape that sort of thing, or there's someone kind of almost mocking you or using you as a muse. And so halfway through the movie, right at the midway point, literally right at, you know, at 45, I think is the timestamp where this scene starts, where his friends see him in the bushes talking to plants, and they go, dude, we can see you. And he goes, shit. And he runs up some stairs, through a hallway, that upper left photo there. So, you know, he's literally jumping off the wall, through a white hallway, and then down some stairs. So the bottom left image is what you see when his friends catch him at the bottom of the stairway, and he's putting his hands behind his back like AOC did when she was pretending to get arrested, right? And so right after that, instead of responding to his friends telling him to calm down, he just starts howling exuberantly. And it's not aggressive. He's not growling at anyone. He's just howling at the moon, and he exclaims, "I'm like free man. I'm like a free man." So you have Z Freeman and Q Shaman, and
All right.
this makes me think he was on someone's radar in 2017, likely.
Well, at very least, synchronistically,
exactly. Predictive programming, like I was saying, like that was the
Right.
first thing that came to my mind when seeing
Wait,
this.
speaking of predictive programming, because I didn't quite finish the self-immolation bag, we should rest in power for a second. Let the power rest. So just really quickly, 50 years after the self-immolation of Czech student, on Polak remains a symbol of defiance. There's a huge thing about that in the resistance. But of course, Norman Morrison, right? Norman Morrison, who burned himself, he doused himself with kerosene and self-immolated in front of the office of Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara at the Pentagon to protest the
I did not know that.
war. Yeah, during
was this a recent one of someone just lighting themselves on fire there? Or was
the video just came out today. I don't know when it happened, but there was a video that was just kind of I'd like to thank the InfoWars staff for censoring. They put a censor bubble over him when he was burning, and you could still hear him screaming. But my algorithms in particular on Twitter or elsewhere tend not to show me body parts missing or mutilated anything.
So I
haven't started clicking on it.
Bakhmut or Avdiivka then.
Yeah.
Who's that?
The Russian or Ukraine cities recently captured by Russia and the horrid scenes of war.
Right. Well, I mean, it seems like it's only getting more discerned, each movement. I don't know if we're really going to go into that at all, but if you just check out the Duran, you can find, is that right, the Duran.com? There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in Russia right now. And the idea of UFOs being drones, lots and lots of drones that are AI driven.
Alex Jones called Putin Pooty Poot today. He goes, "Little old Pooty." I'm going, really? Okay. I mean, on one hand, it's like an affectionate, they're worse nickname.
Apparently, also today, the head of the Ukrainian intelligence department, Bodanov, came out and said that Alexei Navalny, the recently deceased, in-jailed Russian dissenter, was died from a blood clot and was agreeing with the Russians that it was natural causes and was not due to a murder or negligence on the Russian side, which is quite surprising. Their absolute enemy in the moment backing their claims.
Corroborates that. It's good though, because so many people want to use this as, you saw that the Russian I think the Russian Orthodox Church and State recently built a temple square in Russia that has 4 different temples for 4 different religions. The Muslims, the Catholics have representation as well, I think, but so do the
probably Jews.
Yeah, the Jews
in Russia. The censorship that they had was not just political. There's a YouTuber, NFKRZ, no fuckers, kind of a fun guy, and he was saying that you can't speak bad about religion on YouTube. There was a time that was but that was before they banned Instagram and a couple other platforms as terrorist organizations. But interesting. So they all have one complex now. So are they building a new Jerusalem where you have a Muslim holy site next to a Jewish holy site, next to a Christian holy site, next to and then it becomes an international city? Or
trying to find, it's like an international religious city, multiple religions. Let me see if I can find it. It's going to be kind of like a place where all of these temples face each other at like a foursquare kind of thing. And the idea is so that they can interact with each other and have religious intersectional crossover dialogue, right?
Now, is it possible that Navalny was disappeared and that he didn't die? Can we be hopeful that there's a chance he was just identified as someone who was never going to be out of this limbo state, and so they gave him the opportunity to go into like a WITSEC kind of
Well, apparently,
it's one thing to get forced into that.
Came out today. They stated that Navalny was apparently days away from being released in a giant trade with the U.S. prisoner swap for this.
Oh yeah, because our prison system is so great.
Apparently they were going to do a U.S. exchange for Navalny for this Russian KGB assassin that's in a German prison, and then they were also going to get the American teacher and journalist out or something like that. all of this came out today. So,
And same thing with Prigozhin.
Script.
But did Prigozhin die, or was he just disappeared from our radar? And
right, is he in Africa right now?
Well, it's like Putin doesn't really have the opportunity to retire. He's going to work until he dies. And most politicians you look at Pelosi, you look at Biden, he did not want to run. he would prefer to be on the beach right now. And even if that meant he had a shorter life because he was drinking whiskey, or at some point when you've served that long, Washington D.C. is this weird dimension of that sucks people in. Like this, the greatest honor is to be a Supreme Court judge, which means you have to work until you're dead, which is, again, just kind of an odd way to go about things, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't think people really anticipate how long the future is, what they can do after certain points. Like there's like points in your life. People should really get that poster. It's like your life in weeks. Have you seen that thing? I think everyone should. I think you should put this on every kid's wall as a child, like on their door or something like that. They have a vertical version of it too. But if not just that part, where's the? There's a better one.
And to keep track of it, to keep track of where you might be within the scheme of things. It helps.
Yeah. I think everyone should have this giant poster on their door. And it's so here it shows you the life of a typical, maybe not every Canadian, but I think if you changed it to say like, the general things, here's kind of, maybe it's a good model in general, because you've got this idea of these weeks are those early years. These green ones are elementary school. Middle school's quick, high school happens, then college. The rest of your life is kind of this big career gap thing before retirement. And retirement happens, sometime maybe 15 years after the average length of someone staying at a job, right? So it's crazy to think about, when do people think they're going to start to have. Also, average life expectancy in Sierra Leone is just about a little longer than the time that someone would normally retire in the United States. So think about that also. Like a normal life lived for someone is usually up to the point of retirement in the United States. And then from there.
So, I mean, I'm a little bit older than both you guys, I think. And so when I was in high school, there was this paradigm that, you keep your head in the sand and you get as close to a 4.0 as you can. And then you get into the good school, and that's what gets you the good job. And if you fuck up once, it might mess up those chain of events. Whereas my teacher's generation in high school, they were saying, no, nepotism isn't great, but the way that you get a job in college is by networking with your professors. It's not by being the top of your class necessarily and then being recruited into something. And the paradigm, again, of having one career where you're at your peak earning potential in your latest years. And so that's why you drag out the last 5 years of your career, is because you're finally making the money that you could have made the first 30. And being on YouTube, on social media, it's like both of you have been in the game for a while. And again, I'm this newbie who gets this opportunity to mouth off and share my thoughts with the world too. So again, appreciation to not only you as individuals, but people like you who kind of hold it down and create an inclusive space for
singularity,
people on the internet.
Sharing is caring, and we need more discussion in this world.
Well, I didn't mean to cut off your presentation. We can go back. I think we're done with self-immolation. I just wanted to say there is modeling for it, and we'll never forget Norman.
So something that I think, do I need to rescreen share is the question.
There we
go. I'll maximize it. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So I was going to do this in a way where, okay, this is a Disney book of matches, and I kind of ruined it by showing you the top. But, my pattern recognition software in my brain is like overactive. And so I'm just trying to get a sense from you as to whether I'm way off or not here. So you have the contemporary resort. And like, what is this shape? How did the architect come up with this? And I'm sure it looked like the building. But there's no top to the pyramid, and the doors are closed. And then you go to Crowley, and he's opening the doors and peeking through, and the light is shining on top of the pyramid.
Wow. Well, it also
I don't know which came first, the photo or the architecture, but
the early Trump insignia was like this as well, this large T, before it became 4 T's. But I like, also kind of reminds me of a Minotaur, the labyrinth door to the Minotaur. I've seen in some movie. That sticks out to me, like a bull or a Taurus symbol. Contemporary resort.
Pretty wild, and how much it resembles even the in Turkey, all of those T bars in that super ancient megalithic site that I'm trying to remember the name of right now, but stacked within each other there. Oh God, why
I don't
can't
mean to
I
make
ever
everybody sick with my poor presenting skills here.
How they were going to write Isaac's name, Isaac.
Well, this is within the same document, and I'm afraid that this is like Beetlejuice, and because I grew up in a town called Newton, which is actually just next door where I'm from, and it's quite a wealthy place, you know, around Boston. So the ancient Roman version of sacking something, you know, so it's like, is his name Isaac Newton? Is that what it was? You know, and did he ever come to America? I don't know, but it's like by saying Isako Nutano, Isaki Nutani, and then just below that, if you see here, even it says Isakas Nutanas, and it's like pick one, you know.
Yeah,
or,
I mean,
again, this is proof that all this is
not Nuevo Antonio or something like that, like some new.
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
you can play it.
Well, there is a whole bunch of new Newton writings in the alchemy, and then also the what they called religious or magical writings or whatnot, or his philosophical writings. They're finally just getting translated into English. Gobekli Tepe. Thank you, Scott Dubois. That was the place I was trying to say in Turkey that has the key-like block letters.
You're right. Yeah, the columns there. Yeah,
columns there. Yeah. Also, I noticed when you had the Walt Disney logo there, the Mickey Mouse of like the big circle and then his two circle ears and the box around it is essentially an alchemy geometry of the two smaller circles that fit within the main circle with the box around it. Very another
yeah. I wonder though, it's like, because if I had dropped the matchbook into Google image search, it never would have pulled up the Aleister Crowley thing. So this is where our wetware, where again, this might be a stretch. This might not have been the source of inspiration, but I'd say it's at least 50-50 that there was some connection between the shapes that are being made. And the idea that Crowley is using body language there as part of an ancient form of communication, as Bernie was saying, where it's somewhat universal.
Right. These are the two pillars, but it's also the doors.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
The two pillars, as well as where the top, the keystone pyramid, his hat is in relation to his fists and arms. Like the height wise, it looks proportional to where you find a lot of the doors and the chambers in the different pyramids, and where the energy focal point is at the top.
So my excuse for being obsessed with linguistics is that my sister is a PhD linguist and she teaches. And so anytime I can say something and feel smarter than her about linguistics, then she hates me a little bit more and asks me why I think I know anything about anything. So I like finding overlaps.
Well, you have such a like OS 9 looking desktop right here. Is this how you do it? Look at that. It's
at least OS 10, maybe.
No. Yeah, but just the way
I'm outdated.
The way you organize stuff. I don't know. I didn't mean it in a bad way. I actually like it. It's pretty sweet.
It was scattered. I cleaned up my desktop because I knew I was having.
I'm gonna do an impromptu.
This is Andreas's work. This isn't mine, but.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a while. That's cool. I'm gonna quickly, before you do a more interesting thing than me, I'm gonna do like a really random product advertisement. So if you ever buy software, and I hope to God that they come out with some like open source version of this, and I think there's got to be something, but Hazel automatically organizes your Mac, right? So what this will do is you have an if then else statement. So like, I think you can probably automate this a cheaper way, but this works really quickly. If this file is found on the desktop and it is a audio file, move it to music. If it's a picture file, move it to pictures. And so eventually you just have like a completely sorted house cleaner, like sorting. If this is a movie file and the release was, you know, an AVI file, then put that, I don't know, whatever you want, like, or retitle it, sort it into a subfolder with the release years. I want all my movies organized by the date. I mean, you could do that. I really just use it to keep my desktop clean.
You called it a what? A sorted housekeeper. I feel like that's a name for a horror movie, because sorted, SORDID, means like wretched and squalid and avaricious. Well, but you meant sorted. So there's a T.
I think she cost like $15 or $20 seems like sorted, but I meant like sorted. Yeah, but also she's got it sorted out, which is nice.
Well, so, Canada's maid system too. Again, you wonder if it's a reference to, it's like, are you going to clean up after yourself, or do you need some maid? Yikes! You know, it's a little.
I apologize. I'm sure that was useless to most of you, but I just want. Felt like essential. All right, where's the? So you were gonna pull up
My
the
table
wizard
of contents. Let's see. I've got a few fun topics. So as far as linguistic overlaps, and yeah, I don't necessarily have an image to present with this stuff, but let me see what I can
The
pull up.
internet
Kind of
guy says
interesting to
I'm
look
so
at it with.
cringe. I think that's hilarious. I am pretty much.
Well,
But yeah, if you can find what was it? Was the wizard picture
oh,
part of?
yeah, that's right here. This was, I think I actually bought this off of eBay, and it was the only thing on the Xirtus thing that was for sale. And I didn't know. Did you set up an AI bot to like just like sell one thing? No, I'm just kidding.
I had it set up to sell a bunch of things, but I need to redo the products because I was doing them through like a Chinese clothing maker that I did the print design for. So I need to do a whole new set of things because I don't think they're manufactured.
See, there are things called Etsy millionaires
We
where
need
like
to do this
Oh, go ahead.
together, my friend, because I also have to set up mine, go through mine, and I'm in the process of about to set up my silk screen again so I can actually make the clothing too. So
Right. Yeah, I like this one. 2001 is Mormon Space Odyssey.
I mean, when you look at it at different scales too, it looks like a giant cat's eye in the sky because of the vertical slit.
Oh wow!
And then it's the monolith that's ascending, and then it's also
I love it. Like that is Mormons on the moon. Is the moon Mormon heaven full of cheese and a monolith in the sky?
And so, Bernie, I don't know if you were watching Xirtus's Mormon chat or Mormon stream yesterday, or Latter-day Saint stream.
I caught a little bit of it, but I gotta rewatch in full. I do enjoy those.
So just as far as an honest, getting a cold reaction to something. So there's the idea the gold tablets were here, and maybe Jesus was in America, and maybe there really were, and you're big on this, is the Egyptian artifacts that were in the Grand Canyon and sequestered by the Smithsonian, right?
Yeah, the Kincaid expedition.
So I think the reason it's hard for the East Coast academics to accept is because the East Coast was actually kept in the dark for about 1,000 years, whereas the West Coast, I feel like if those artifacts ended up in America, we perceive that they came across the Atlantic. And in reality, they may have come across the Pacific, which is why it would have been a real bitch to carry the sarcophaguses across the continental United States. It makes a lot more sense that they showed up in California, logged them inland until a place that they found that was safe, they could hide them, no? Anybody? Bueller?
It's super nice Templar.
We're both muted. My bad. Shit, I thought I was talking.
No, that's fine. Usually that's what happens in conversation when I ask people questions like that. Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, first off, look at my rainbow banana lights. Second off, I think that the Knights Templar and the National Treasure reference is really important because I was talking today with Stephen from the Mormon Book Reviews, and he had a lot of people have different takes on what happened, and it's interesting if you didn't have the internet and you're like some of these people I talked to who are like 40 or 50 or 60, like it starts to be a different story what they were taught as kids, and so some of them are told that Joseph Smith wore glasses, right, which is very National Treasure, right? If you think about the National Treasure movie, let's see if I can find that picture where they're they've got those Benjamin Franklin glasses, which are made of different colors and lenses and things like that.
And the red, right? The red, blue. This I like. Can you see angels and demons or auras and demons with those? I often wonder.
My blasphemous joke about America is the front side of the Constitution had those words, and the back side it was a diagram of the Kama Sutra with a price list that was like supposed to, because one side created peace of one sort, but you could only see them with special glasses, or maybe it's bad.
I mean, it's an interesting idea, but it's also the whole idea of there being like, we already have these stories about Tartary. We didn't have them a couple hundred years ago.
Wolter, I got to give a shout out to Scott Wolter in his America on Earth series. He proven pretty much that the Templars came over to America, that they drew maps of the trips, and it was during the time of the Templars taking Jerusalem, or shortly thereafter taking Jerusalem. So about 1,000 or 1,500 years. No, 1,000.
Well, the thing is that 100, 200 years ago, we had no idea. We had no idea about, like when Joseph Smith's writing about civilizations in America, they haven't flown over the pyramids yet. the Mayan pyramids. There's no understanding of Mesoamerica. And
were the pyramids covered by trees by accident?
Point.
Question, but go ahead. Yeah.
well, just it's literally the 20th century before we find pyramids, and people start to think it's possible that there was even civilization here. So you've got a head start, and then you've got today the difference, which is a lot of people are not religious centric or anything like that. They're just trying to live their lives. I think you see that people used to have food and they were able to take care of their families, and so the higher aspiration thing was more prevalent. And today we're more in a starvation, scarcity model economic society, which keeps you from ever. I mean, you even see people don't even get to the point of having families. So it's keeping people from even getting to the point of religious pursuits, or they get so infatuated with it they can't find
instead of I resent that comment. Hey, I resemble that comment.
I resemble that remark.
All three of us do, I think. Unless
I resemble that remark.
Keeping privacy online, whether we have families or not, is a.
But there's a plethora of data today that shows civilizations in the Western Hemisphere, not just in Mesoamerica, but in North America. And more we're looking at this idea. We talked about the Western Sea interior, so this idea of Eden in Florida, as Dr. Longo's talked about, the navigation out of Florida, out of Eden, into this coastal region that eventually they would have left from Eden, from out of Eden into the western, out of the western.
Well, and you said earlier today, you said Atlantis ended up in Florida, kind of. Or no, you said Atlantis. So what I think Atlantis was a giant floating flotilla of, linked ships.
Atlantis was like a worldwide civilization, kind of like today. I envision Atlantis kind of being like America of today, and that maybe it was all referred to as just America, but there was still the Greeks back then, there was still the Chinese back then, or the Tartars, whoever, all of the different groups that there are today, but we call it the UN or the USA or Western society sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. But also this idea of Babylon, right? So, Babylon being not that long ago, and the idea of Noah coming out of this, pre-Babylon time into this post-Diluvian time, and then this division of society coming pretty much after that, right? There's already kind of other cities happening, but Babylon is like this major first civilization. And we associate that idea also, it was a hyper advanced civilization. It's trying to reach the heavens and God. So we have already that idea too, that there are cities of this state. It's not necessarily that Babylon was the entire kingdom. The kingdom of Babylon might have been like a state kingdom, like the republic, these Platonic republics that we, city states that we recognize.
If you pull up my screen share for a second, go ahead, Bernie, though. Yeah.
The Babylon moment essentially being where we're at right now. And I feel that it was like with the one world language, the one technology, and the creation of God, or power technology of God, reaching God moment, that it was reaching this singularity, this quantum AI singularity moment. And that's what we failed the last time, and we're reaching it again right now and in the precipice of.
Yeah, I mean, we have a good, but just before we do your slide, I just want to say on that, it's an important point, is that like the Icarus thing. Someone brought up Icarus earlier. I don't know, I just saw it as a comment at some point, and I've been thinking, I like to think about things. Icarus reaching the sun is kind of a Hellenistic goal, right? This idea of reaching the sun because the sun is God. So several times over, we're told that if you get too close to becoming God, or, if you get too close to escaping your obligations as a human, that you're going to be destroyed by something. And in the Babylonian tower story, it's that they're, in the Babylonian tower story, they have a temple that the Elohim are talking to each other about. So it's not Eloi, it's not a single father. It's their, come, let us distract them, because they will soon be like us. They will soon reach where we are. So it's plural communication. So I find that really interesting as well. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
I've got a pretty good shtick on Icarus here. And so there's something called pyrolytic cones, and they're used in the production, when you're doing kiln work or glass work. And there's no thermometer you can stick in really and take it out to figure out if the kiln reached 1500 degrees or 1600 degrees. But
Just
over time,
thank you, Bikini Truther, because you're wonderful.
Yes.
All right,
super sticker. But Icarus, so what did Icarus put in his wings? What was his big problem?
Honey? Was
He
it
put
honey or was it
wax.
wax? Wax.
And
sorry.
the idea was when he
Yeah, well, sorry,
go
I
ahead.
accidentally muted you. It was beeswax. Sorry.
So now again, assume this has been interpreted through a few different languages and turned into a parable. Now it's about a bet about when you go higher in the atmosphere, is it cold or is it hot? And the question is, it depends on your perspective. And because from a convective standpoint, it's very rarefied. There's not many molecules. But if you look up a chart, just go on Google, it's 1500 degrees Celsius up there, which is not our perception. And that's not how the movies portray it in common. So the idea that Icarus built something like even a balloon and sent it way up there. And if you left a pyrolytic cone in that environment for long enough, it would absorb the radiation in that area and eventually melt. And it would take a lot longer than it did inside of a kiln. But wax melts when you go up, because otherwise wax should freeze and be a perfectly acceptable sealant up there, type of bitumen or, waterproofing. But in reality, what happens is even high temperature wax melts. So the SR-71, Eminem has a song about how you sit there on that runway and weep or something like that, which is what the SR-71 does. You have to fill it with fuel, and until it takes off, the heat expands the panels once it gets up to speed, and then the gas tank is sealed shut, and then you have to refuel it, and then it can go somewhere. Whereas, because there is no such thing as a really high temperature sealant that will keep the gas tanks sealed on the ground and at speed. So it's just they rely on the metal itself to expand and seal that up. So now, to switch back to what we were talking about in terms of the ocean and getting maybe the direct word of God, and going back to glass blowing, so this is Prince Rupert. And so Prince Rupert's drop in glass blowing is when you drop molten wax or molten glass into water, and it forms this long sperm looking thing. And if you break the tail, the whole thing shatters. So when you apply that concept to naval warfare, it's like if anyone attacks any one of those ships, 100 other ships immediately descend on it. And there were, again, the concept of North Atlantic bridgeways, I say again as a bad moment of speech, but it's something I brought up in the past on, a year ago on stream. I don't expect anyone to remember or reference that, but the idea of North Atlantic bridgeways, it was in a book called The Montauk Effect or something, not the more modern take on the Montauk series, but no other Google. It's one of those. These are not the droids you're looking for. You cannot find the words North Atlantic Bridgeway, but this is what it would kind of look like, extending away from the coast. It would just be ship after ship after ship after ship after ship after ship, and
it's pretty crazy to imagine too. Because just for reference, I went this summer.
This is Atlantis. This is what happens when Atlantis does the reset. They show up on land and they show up in mass. But go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking when I went to Croatia this summer, like the entire coast of Croatia, so you have to think of the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire is making all these boats. And to do that, you need a lot of wood. And to take wood, you have to destroy forests. And so the entire forests of the Slavic areas were torn out. And so now you have these giant white stone areas that were, they used to be forests, but the Roman Empire or whatever we're referring to, like the post-Etruscan sailors at that point.
Lost cedar forests of Lebanon and Syria.
Exactly. And so, this ecological disaster that's on one side of those boats, and then what's coming on the other, I found interesting.
And there are stories. So there are about, in terms of naval warfare and strategy, if you put them in a big grid, there's a story about a guy who's directing 2 squadrons of boats, and he put them, 50 wide and 40 long in a big grid, and there were 2 of them, and the ship that was controlling them was in the center. And all of a sudden there was all this lightning, all this St. Elmo's fire, and then directly over the ship that was controlling them, a thunderstorm broke out, and weather that was over the rest of the squadron and fleet cleared up. And so if each one of these had an electromagnetic thing on, whether you did it intentionally as a HARP type system for weather control, or it was just your first attempt at setting up radio communications and you didn't realize that everything reacts to the electromagnetic waves in nature.
That's fascinating.
So single file might have been a little safer than traveling as a grid, or just produce different effects. And then when you look at the diagrams of the 30 by 40 matrices of ships, it's a reference both to early mechanical television sets and how many lines of data there were. And so you could encode, because there was a 32 line versus a 30 line. And if you pump the signal in from the 30 line system to the 32 line system, it's going to come out as gobbledygook. And you need a different algorithm to bounce the numbers off of. And I can't prove any of these things. Another interesting thing is in the diagrams about the and again, I could try to dig up the actual pictures later in the stream.
Burning in the background.
I think it says it at the bottom there. So the town of Skelling, maybe. Yeah, and the question is, from far away, is that steam evaporating or is it a fire? And is it on purpose or not? Right, that might have been Atlantis Mons, which is a giant white smoker on the bottom of the ocean. There are black smokers and then there are white smokers. And this has nothing to do with racial anything. It's about the chemicals that are coming out. And it's called Olympus Mons, I think maybe is on Mars, but Atlanticus Mons, I think, is a structure that extends up from the bottom of the sea and occasionally collapses in on itself and never reaches the surface. But if the sea levels were lower, you would have had this giant crystal palace sticking up out of the center of the Atlantic Ocean that it wouldn't have been that safe to build on, because again, it's built on a bunch of hollow crystalline tubes that have been depositing themselves slowly over time. I don't know, but as I decode this stuff, so simple linguistic fun, you have Red Mercury and Freddie Mercury. Either of you ever pick up on that one before?
Fred. I never thought about it, but yeah, that's amazing. And Fred Mercury died, and if he had Red Mercury, he might have made it. But that was his green kryptonite.
But like a double, triple top secret program to try to infiltrate their gay mafia, because they might have been controlling some of the technology around Red Mercury, and who knows?
Mercury is fascinating.
And then, like, was it an accident that Freddie Mercury's name contains red? And it's like saying, did Buzz Aldrin? And so I think I've told this joke to both of you before, but Buzz Aldrin, who was an astronaut, right? But Aldrin was the name of a pesticide that it took about 30 years for the federal government to finally agree with the farmers that no one should use that. Okay, so his name is Buzz because it, like bugs, it was a pesticide, and the farmers were really confused about how the government was justifying spending the tax dollars that they had earned with the sweat of their literal brow on going where? You're going to go to the friggin' what? The moon? So, okay, if you want to do that on your own, that's fine. But if you're spending taxpayer dollars, then probably the first time you try to send people up there, they're all going to die on the ground once, which happened, right? The capsule that burned up on the ground. And then when you finally do send someone to the moon, his name's going to be Buzz Aldrin. And do we get it as a historical joke, as a people? No, but that one is less of a coincidence. Freddie Mercury might be more of a... but so, for instance, everyone's familiar with the Rick and Morty court read, where it's like an 11-minute segment where they read an actual transcript of a judge and someone who's on trial just kind of cussing each other out. But it says it's written by Mr. Fenton Allen, like fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
You know?
That's pretty evil and dark.
And the name Fenton. No.
Well, I was gonna say they removed Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from Samoa because they didn't want kids seeing the word morphin on TV. It was too close to morphine.
Oh, no, I didn't think about that.
Well, it wasn't a big problem where you were at, but I guess in Samoa they had a lot of morphine addiction, so it was something that they were worried about.
And I just watched a movie with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor from 1991, and in the opening credits, there was some guy named Fenton. You know, and they do a lot of drugs in the movie. Or
I see a lot of Fentons. That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
It's a drug that apparently was around since the 70s, but growing up, they never taught me about that in Dare. And it is one of the things to like look out for, by the way. And again, it might have been just before the crest of it.
Honestly, you and I should have heard about it more than other people, because people near these major medical centers like Stanford or Boston, you know, St. John Hopkins and things like that, Washington, D.C., places where these manufactured synthetic drugs were coming out before they were manufactured in China. So we were on the front lines of some of the most dangerous stuff. I remember like fentanyl problems in Santa Cruz probably in 1999, 2001, first hearing about it. Again, my mom was a doctor, so maybe I was seeing it a little bit more closely. But it was something that, of course, wasn't as relevant in other places yet because it hadn't been manufactured. And that show, Breaking Bad, right, is kind of like Epstein is 20 years ago, you know, like as in Epstein happened, we got all freaked out, but it happened 20 years prior to when people freaked out about it. And the same thing with Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is a show that we're excited, people loved watching, but it was about the way things were working 20 years earlier before they'd gotten through NAFTA, which again, that came up earlier today. And I was thinking about all this, how methamphetamine and synthetic production was moved to Mexico. Mexico is now like another China with manufacturing of all sorts of substances. And we think of things coming from China, but really we have a lot of both things happening right here as well. And the other thing I wanted to say is like, just think about Operation Infection, right? Have you heard of Operation Infection? You know, the conspiracy theory that the CIA invented AIDS, right? Like, you know, and of course, let's just keep this video safe by going to Snopes first. And so Snopes will tell you that AIDS was not created by the CIA and that they looked into it 20 years ago and they decided to check it up again. And they still don't think AIDS was created by the CIA.
Well, but they're not saying it wasn't created by mankind or some organization. They just can't quite pin it on the CIA. No, sorry.
I mean, well, we'll get there. The
That's
thing
a
is
separate debate, but yeah.
They want to say that it was like they believe it was naturally AIDS recognized in 1980s. Blah 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 blah. I just wanted to make sure we didn't get in trouble.
Or is it fake like COVID and doesn't even exist? No, but sorry.
Operation. The idea that CIA AIDS is real, you know,
that was a joke in a video game. Everybody, yeah.
CIA AIDS was probably brought up before or during Operation Infection first. And so Operation Infection was a Russian psychological operation to plant the idea that the United States had invented HIV and AIDS. However,
one way for population control. No, I totally cut you off there. Population control, though, is either you kill people, or convince them it's dangerous to reproduce. And so if you're really convinced we need to have a culling, then you can either like build weapons or just leak a rumor, and then you feel like you've done your job? ? But
or just leak a lab.
Right. What was that video? There was a video that was a cassette tape I remember seeing as a child, and it was called like Year 2000 Population Zero, and it was all about AIDS. Oh, can I find the video cassette?
So the letters LL. What else? So outside of lab leak, one code that goes out that only, you know, like Rough Riders are, but a loss of liberty. So a lab leak could be code for we need eyeballs on this, because it seems like there's some sort of totalitarian fascist system that's in place that is at least monitoring everybody, and whether or not they're controlling everyone is a separate question or issue. But lab leak, loss of liberty.
People think that things are happening. It doesn't even matter. So like the 1990s is in the wake of the AIDS crisis epidemic. And so people were afraid, you know, you can't imagine how different the world was in the 70s. Clearly, if you watch Studio 54 videos and hear about how some of the parents lived,
Disco.
You know, disco, baby. And now people are far more, I don't know if it's as bad as it was in the 90s, but people should probably still be far more afraid.
You know what disco is short for, right?
Like discs? Discotheque?
Discombobulated is also, Disco Stew is always a little bit, you know, in The Simpsons, he's like not only having a party, but he's just like a little, Johnny Depp's character. He's a little Fear and Loathing, or, you know, Captain Jack Sparrow. He's a little disco, yeah.
All right, yeah.
And today they call it TARDIS dyskinesia, you know, but, you know, so. Anyways. Well, I'd like to point out that on InfoWars today, as far as vice president, and this isn't a tangent, this is just a 5-site. So Alex Jones loves calling her Tulsi Gabbards and Vivek Ramaswamy, and he never gets it right. And so it makes me think it's on purpose, almost as like a, who are these people anyways?
Yeah.
He finally got Ramaswamy right today. But yeah.
Ramaswamy, you know, it's hard to.
He always said Ramaswamy, which is kind of like the Black Swan event, or
but it's a Swami, you know. I don't know. But yeah,
I know that should be easy. You know, it should be easy outside of whether you say Vivek or Vivek. But then he always calls her Tulsi Gabbards and adds an end on the end, and it's real subtle, but he never fails to do it. You know.
I am not even going to try to say those names with my Canadian accent.
Tulsi Gabbard. That'd be cool. I don't know. Wait, so yoga, you had what was the you had your screen up here. I can always, it's so confusing to see my
Yeah.
It's all right.
Inception.
I wish you had. Why don't you, Mac? Why don't you have like multiple windows so you can scroll with 3 fingers your trackpad and go to the next?
If I were just a little bit less of a Luddite. But so here, I'll open up this one. This is an drawing, a cartoon from Wizard of Oz, the first edition.
Yeah.
And there's a lion. And when you blur it, so like blurred lines, get it? And in the background, it looks an awful lot like a guy with dreadlocks, no?
The Zion Lion.
Maybe. So again, this is just one of these. This might be my overactive pattern recognition software, but just little fun
I see that.
things to share. And it's a reference maybe to marijuana or some other hallucinogen or a shamanic ritual or practice. So let's see. I had one other line item here that seemed relevant to. Outside of Alex Stein is taken to on his show smashing a piece of like a monitor or a television screen at the end of every one of his episodes, and I was trying to outside of an
what now?
active
dear.
rage.
You froze, dog.
But he always plays one last video on the screen before he smashes it, and it's almost like Kurt Cobain or a rock star.
Here, we'll just put the brand video up.
Oh, did I get lost?
You're frozen. We can't hear you. I can hear you. I can't see you.
Yeah, I unplugged my power cord and now my screen froze, but I think I can hear you guys. Is it just Bert and Ernie now? Oh, we're back. Are we back?
Bernie's gonna go away. Bernie's walking away in disgust. He's like, I can't believe this. Well, wait, really quick. I should play my new thing. First off,
yeah. You know,
I close my eyes to dream, seeking secret in the silent stream, drawing me closer to a lighter day in time. Make this trivial world sublime by fenner rhyme. Trapped in a world I never made, I hear Moroni's trumpet calling my aid, and in the depths of my mind I find a golden key. It is matter, it comes to me, the taste of eternity from the cosmic honeybee. The hidden manna, sacred sign, guiding me to call from the depths of my mind.
We're muted. You're muted.
heck yeah.
Welcome back.
like the honeybee and the wax, and it makes the candle. And
So before my connection with Bernie drops off here, because as far as things that are under celebrated and under heralded in the online archaeological internet discoveries, Bernie not only kind of chose to dive in head first on the Badlands Guardians, he then went there himself. I mean, this is like canon, and realized that they are very clearly geoengineered structures because they are terraced in very neat 6-inch or to 12-inch terraces, it seems. And Bernie, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Appreciate catching
So
up on that.
my pattern recognition software, again, the algorithm probably feeds me things that I'm supposed to bring to your attention. So I'm glad we have these few moments together. So I just opened up on my screen share. Again,
I'm just gonna look at you for a second there. It's really fun. Here, no, I'll look at. It'll be a video of me looking at you.
oh, do I need to?
No.
Do I need
All
to
right.
redo the screen share? No. Okay.
No. It's good. It's good.
There we go. So you see this large protrusion from the forehead, yeah, in the
Yes,
Badlands
sir.
Guardian, and outside of it, looking like one of them is wearing an earbud, because this isn't kind of the main one. This is maybe one of the secondary ones that people doubt.
This is like a raccoon hat, but the raccoon's alive. I love it.
And now, so Bernie, what district? Or again, I'm so bad at geography. So, is it a state? No. What province? What province is it in?
Province.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Alberta.
Okay, so
Southern
Alberta.
Alberta.
So, guess what this guy's name is? King
Albertus.
Albert.
King Albert.
King Alberticus, and he's from the 4th century. And yeah, they
Everything
might have lived here like once, like for a little while, like long enough to build a giant. So here's another one similar.
You know,
image.
within 20 years, they're gonna start calling Albertans Albertanians, just like Caligarians. And it's all gonna be like Game of Thrones up there. I can see it coming.
Well, I'm a Caligarian, Tartarian, of course.
So you can put the screen share so people don't get nauseous here. But so as far as like if you're because eventually either National Geographic or the Discovery Channel or the History Channel or someone's gonna care enough.
Put the one picture up, you madman, you mad lad. I want to see just the guy with the hat.
Compared, especially this is the good one, right?
No, there was one to the behind. That one's cool too, but there was one right there. That up behind it. You know, you see what it is. That one. I want to see this. What is this? There's a spear of destiny in the hands of the fish hats.
Those could also. So there was something called an unguentaria, I think. It was a type of glass vessel that was U-shaped, and they claimed that women kept their cosmetics in it because when they test it, they find heavy metals, and they think that was in. But what it really is, they were the cathodes and anodes. You see how that would be how you would make a battery. You would have a tube, and at the top, that'll make you go zap. You know.
Kaboom! Did you see Linus Tech?
Maybe light in the dark, but Linus Tech of what?
Oh, Linus Tech Tips, he made a laptop or something run off a phone, like run off of a potato. You know how everyone's always saying that they could like run a phone off of a potato, but he actually made a phone run off of a potato. Good job, Linus. We're all proud of you with what you did.
So let me see if I can pull up the actual name of the Roman glass vessel as opposed to making the audience guess at it. But you guys discuss amongst yourselves as I pull this up, as they would say on SNL.
Hidden manna, hidden manna. Come on, bro. You know, that's pretty good.
And again, it's a word that I definitely didn't hear growing up, but
dude, manna, bro. I'm going insane.
Here.
All right, let's see here. We got here medicine hat geoglyph. Okay. Oh, that's right. This always reminds me of Bernie.
This is the main Badland Guardian. And right, well, it's my logo on Crypto Alchemist. Is this guy's face? And
but he kind of looks like you too.
Originally trended as the iPod Indian is what they called it, but really that's a road going up to an oil derrick, right, where it would be the guy's ear. But so
how old is that road? Was that road ancient, or did they build that more like in the last 100 years or something?
So Apple did this. This is an iPhone. Remember how they had everyone? It was like a silhouette, and all you could see was the white headphones, and that's what this is. You see, he's wearing earbuds, dude. That's the wildest part is that they had the technology, you know,
like the Nausicaa line. No, I'm sorry, Bernie. Keep going.
It is like the Nazca lines, actually. So here's the Olmec face as well. It's on the back side of this guy's head. There's another face here, another face here. There's 5 on that. But then there's this guy, which is called the Mayan with the feathered serpent headdress, or the Quetzalcoatl, I believe, headdress or something like that. Everyone calls it something else, but you were showing the Romans with essentially that. And then here's some of the Mayans with the same headdress stuff. And
so just free association
are the geoglyphs.
Okay, the headdress with it looks almost like a parasite's coming out of his forehead, right?
Well, I mean, we talked earlier today about divine shapes, divine concepts, divine symmetry, and I think that this kind of reminds me of that idea. When you think about like dragons in geography, for instance, right, like California coastline and these serpent-like coastline, or the way that people refer to the continents as the back, like riding on the backs of turtles. I think that there's probably something to it, that this idea that radio frequencies are certain frequencies, that certain shapes are certain frequencies as well. And
so, and actually, if you're recording on a wax, on a wax cylinder on something that is moving, that's the idea. It's one thing. It's like you have before you had a hard drive, you had to scribe. You would pick up something. It'd be like in a church basement where you have meteorological equipment reading out onto these brass drums. Okay, so on the back of a turtle implies that it's something that's moving very steadily and slowly, because otherwise the bumps in the road would be jagged. And the answer is that it was flying. It was a vimana, and that's the back of a turtle is actually flying in the sky in one respect. But so all 3 of us are probably familiar. I'm not sure everyone in the audience is with the set of armor that has the parasite coming out of the neck. Correct?
Which armor are you talking about?
So
Pull
this
it
is
up.
kind of just a universal.
Stargate.
This is very Martin lead key-esque. But if you
Oh,
type in parasite armor, it's a full coat of arms. It's seen a lot more in older artwork. Obviously, it's not coming up. But it's instead of where the person's head and face should be, there's like a little worm sticking up out where the spine is, and this is almost like the phase before the parasite phase, or it's viewed as like Freemasons. You show up and you rebuild the cities that are there, and then claim them for your own.
So
I don't know. I don't know painting.
quickly, just to finish off what I had up here, this is the overall territory that is mapped out at the Medicine Hat Badland Geoglyph
Oh, no
site.
way.
And it also does connect down one geoglyph to the Nazca lines, and that when I go back this summer with my drone, I'm going to get footage and confirmation of the earthworks that
But why are you not going back with a crew and a budget of $100,000? That's what I don't understand.
I have not been given $100,000.
Okay, all right, and that's why Xirtus is here. He's like not the glue.
If someone
but
wants to give me money, I will go camp there all summer and explore the shit out of this.
do we approach one of the major networks to do it is the question. And so
no.
What I just saw though, before, when you trace that big arch and say this whole area is mapped on the Alberta plain, I would have been a little skeptical-ish about it. But now if you look at the right side of that hemisphere circle that's traced, that is where these are from. The ones that I pulled up that have the King Alberticus is from Northern Europe. So that makes a whole lot of sense that is now just barely included in the boundary of where they came from or where they made it to. So
right.
I feel like people who see this discovery, and you can't really refute the tangible geography of what you found. And that's the most amazing part, is you were like, no, I'm so sure of this, I'm going to go there. And it was beyond what you even expected. It was like, not only did I look at this, guys, and it was almost like in Idiocracy at the end where the plants are finally growing, and they're like, cameraman's like panning. It's like, we stopped watering the plants with Bronda. We put water on them, and look, all of this, and you're there just going, and like, no matter where you panned your camera, you're like, and it was you hear the disbelief almost in your own voice as you. So I appreciate you sharing that experience with the world. And in academia, people would keep it secret, and then they would go look for buried treasure there first, and then they might publish their results.
I will be going back.
This King Alberticus connection was maybe one of the missing pieces that helps tell a larger story. And regardless of whether it becomes more true because of this visual correspondence to the forehead projection thing, it becomes more of a complete story that's being told. And then especially with the edge of the boundary of that region, including basically right where these things were discovered in Europe.
Is it a fair thing that we should start calling that mountain King Alberticus? I feel like
Bernicus. You said
Albernicus.
Bernicus.
That might be the title.
King Alberticus. If you can actually, my computer, I gotta get that program you were showing earlier to clean it up so it can actually handle running Google Earth while streaming. But if you can, and go to the Medicine Hat Badland Guardian site, there's actually, now it's been found, there's a whole nother valley above the bottom valley that has like the 10 figures with a whole additional 10 more Badland figure faces there. It's quite wild. So it's like just north of where these guys are, there's 10 more of them.
I don't know if I've seen the photos of that yet. That's crazy.
No, they haven't been photoed yet. That's the whole thing.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
It looks like your best alternative is Autolt. Autolt is a scripting thing that will help you clean. I'll have to look into this. I don't know if it's as easy to use as Hazel, but it looks like a thing. Trending on Twitter is cocaine and ChatGPT. Well, I'm not surprised.
Sounds
what
like
about
23.
What else you got here, Stefan?
So yeah, if you screen share, I was talking before about the military formations of, and I guess it would be better if I actually just open these. Yeah, again, off screen share so people don't get nauseous trying to follow along. I'll open up a bunch and then flip through them. But if you were trying to hide the diagram for an early LED chip within another document that also worked as a standalone text that described military strategy or this, that, or the other, again, it might be that pattern recognition software being a little overactive in terms of, okay, so I guess I've got a couple images here pulled up that are decent. And as you zoom in, again, it's talking about armed pikes, and you get, it's like the transistor, the early transistor. And the most interesting thing you find is that the cannons have a giant rod sticking out of them, and there's a lot of engravings that imply that it's a ramrod used to like stuff the projectile down in the cannon. But the comparison is like finding something that was, again, finely constructed out of a type of ceramic metal that is a cannon, that if you vibrate it, it's a type of subwoofer, and you can kind of, it needs a filament though, like a reed, and the reed is the ramrod, and that they were precision built to be aimed in certain directions because you were sending not just sound signals by letting a puff of smoke go out in one bang, but when configured thusly, you have a type of like harp-ish array, depending on what frequencies you're pumping into it. And you see, like, if you didn't really know any better, this might be a diagram of a microchip.
Organs in the cathedrals that are often in the center of these Starfort bastions.
Precisely.
Too, right?
Precisely. And again, this is also an early way to talk about how many lines, because let's pretend this is like the picture window and you're trying to get your image to show up here. And it's about what math are you using, what strategy are you using to funnel the ones and zeros into your machine so that you get a legible output. And it's these, so technology words. Today we have, here, I'll pull up one of my favorite things I've been reading. So the Theurgia. You guys are familiar with the Egyptian mysteries?
I need to go through this again. I have forgotten about this.
We're part of this movement where for 2,000 years, anyone that believed and implied that the Egyptian mystery schools and the ancient Theurgia and all this ancient stuff, mythology, you were eventually classified in academia in Bigfoot, Yeti, UFO space, so to speak. It's like the words spooky action at a distance, which today is applied to quantum mechanics, for 2,000 years was used to ridicule people that thought, if I move my magnetic dial over here, then your magnetic dial over there is going to move in the same way, like early telegraph. And in principle, if you pick up a set of kitchen magnets and even you do some experiments with wires, you can say, yeah, it doesn't work. But that's just because you're not using the person, whoever's, saying and ridiculing it because they've played with kitchen magnets and saying that spooky action at a distance doesn't exist and that it's a myth and that you just need a scryer is the answer. And the scryer was someone who could pull the stuff out of the airwaves. And then you might need a macaroni man to actually translate the symbols and characters that they were able to pull off of the airwaves, sort of thing. But this guy's name who translated it was iambicus, like umbilical cord. An iambic pentameter, and iamb apparently is a meter. It's 2 units of linguistic information. One is accented and one is not. And what it developed into was a mocking tone. So if you talk like this and you're talking about, oh, I'm the authority and this is what we shall do today, and to write poetry in that style, the poetry was often, throwing stones at the ivory tower, so to speak. And iamb. And umblijos, iamblijos. But so you go through this, and it's basically, because this, right away, it says it was translated from the Greek into English, and it was done thousands of years apart. And it's kind of like an ancient troubleshooting guide. Here's 14, 18 chapters about different debates they were having. And the questions, it's like you have demons. What this is interference. And it's like, what am I hearing is static electricity on the system that I'm using to communicate. But by the time they're encoding the language, and they're using words that they think there's universal translation for. Like Isaac Newton talked about flux ions, F-L-U-X-I-O-N. And then a lot of other people talk about flux ions, but some people might be messing with systems and they understand hertz and they understand amps and they understand volts. But what they're missing is coulombs. So they're creating an unknown word, which is a flux ion, and then trying to discuss what it is internally and then consulting other people at other universities. But in the other university, they know what a coulomb is, and a Tesla is, and they've got amps down, but they didn't realize volts was a thing because they were, and so to them, a flux ion is a volt. And then in other contexts, a flux ion is a way of talking about a unit of measure, and it's like early quantum, because the flux ion came up in Isaac Newton's letters to Leibniz when he was trying to talk about measuring the area under a curve. And what you're really doing there is trying to figure out a sine wave and how to read it. And he's talking, if it's an endless sine wave, where do you grab the front and end of it to begin to pump it through an algorithm to decode it? Because if you start at the wrong place, the whole thing might not register in whatever system you're using. But so there's Bible literalists, and who is it that Xirtus had on yesterday? The guy with the beard. I apologize. I don't mean to refer to him as the guy with the beard. Is Andy there? He's probably muted.
Sam Isabel.
Well, as far as being a literalist, and I feel like he reads the Bible the way that some people try to read this. And then when you read this literally, it's not true. It's not necessarily scientifically, empirically verifiable. Because they're talking, and yet he's doing a wrestling match. And this guy he wrestles with the scripture because he's trying to read it literally. But so let's see. I didn't realize I was still on screen share. I'm doing a terrible job of being a presenter here.
I thought it was
so Iambaclus. This is just one of these.
Jacob Isbell, and I was going to call him the Mormon thumper.
Jacob, yes. I should have called him the fine gentleman with a beard. I shouldn't have called him that guy.
He's a fine gentleman with a fine beard, but he's also wrestling over not literalisms in the Book of Mormon. Although that's part of it, because the Book of Mormon does say like polygamy is bad, which is interesting for a religion that people remember as the polygamous religion. So he's against the idea that Joseph Smith ever practiced polygamy. That's a huge movement right now. It feels like it's in line with the Tartarian thing and the idea that Joseph Smith
him out because of that.
Yeah, the church kicked him out for saying that he has testimony, like from God. You know what I mean? Like the vibe, that he isn't that Joseph wasn't a polygamist. And regardless, right?
The thing is, it might not. Polygamy doesn't imply having sex with everyone, and in order to make medical decisions for someone,
that's what you're gonna.
And so
that's exactly what the technicality argument that they've been using for years. So like Jacob, I would like to debate actually with Jacob Hansen probably on this idea if I was more convinced of it being true. But I still think it's worth examining because it's at least a fact that whatever Joseph Smith was doing was very different than what Brigham Young was doing. Brigham Young's version of polygamy is like 26 wives. They're living in huts and like these mansion rooms and whatever's going on. Like this is not the same as a dude who doesn't have any offspring with any of these 40, 50, 60-year-old women.
Spirit, sort of spiritual leader you would want, essentially.
Well, no, I mean, again, that's my point. Joseph Smith looks like a totally fine spiritual leader, especially when you look at the fact that his polygamy isn't actually polygamy. I mean, even in the weirdest of circumstances with the is it Sally whatever, or Hemmings, whatever, there's like the young girl that lived in the house. That's got the least amount of evidence of anything, really. It looks like really suspicious. So people have been like, why would we argue this? Let's just agree to accept this idea that he might have been and probably was a promiscuous human. But the more you look into it, the more it seems like, no, he really wasn't that. It seems like he missed the opportunity. He could have been, like if you really think about how you can go about and the tactics it would take to do things, and you see examples of other people who've done the same. It's really
easier to have 40 wives in 40 different cities. Having them all in one place, you become what's for dinner pretty quick, So.
Right. It's just, and that's the other thing is like he was in a position where he was able to campaign. He could have run for president for the Masons or the anti-Masons, either one. He could have been for the Democrat Masons or like the soon-to-be anti-Mason Republicans.
Judaism comes from a place of talking about mitzvahs, and they list 639 mitzvahs. And so you talk about stories that kind of have happy endings or a moral lesson that's not based on wrestling with sin and defining sin and accepting that we are sinners, and then accepting that there's no such thing as any type of selfish thought or act that shouldn't come with a huge amount of shame, both internally and from external sources.
Don't you mean
not
613? Don't you mean 613 mitzvahs?
Thank you.
What are the other?
I'm glad that you know that and I don't.
What did you? Yeah, what did you? What's the other 26 mitzvahs? I want to know the ones that you don't know.
Wouldn't you like to know exactly?
Those are probably really important. Well, no, but mitzvahs are like doing, I want to say favors, but really it's like blessings, really.
It means good deed. Yeah. And it kind of
nothing wrong with a good deed.
Oh my word.
And there's different levels of tzedakah where you give and get credit for it. So like Bernie, if you end up using the King Albertica stuff, just a footnote.
Who knows what's happening?
Is it working? I don't know. It might not. Oh no, that was a psych out. I'm sorry. He'll probably show up again.
Don't say I'm the newsman.
And I almost no. He doesn't like. See, we have to prepare for the guest. He's not Sam the Newsman. He gets very crotchety and angry when you call him Sam the Newsman.
He's Sam Newsman.
Right? I had to.
It's important. Yeah. No, it sounds like he might be here, but he's having some technical difficulties. But that was a good little that was like a little bit of Lyndon B. Johnson putting Jumbo on the table for you. That's what we could do. I think the mitzvah idea is really interesting because it's very karmic, and doing good deeds is it seems like it's tied into that idea of karma. And also, 613 is important. I didn't mean to be like what the number is. It's because that's like the number of parts of the soul in the Kabbalah, and also the number of the parts of the human anatomy, according to not just Jewish mysticism, but Jewish medicine, which is Egyptian medicine, and Greek medicine, and eventually Hermetic medicine and Western medicine. So it eventually does, tie
and
together.
You're speaking into the religious text the ability to count to 613, because other parts of the Bible, they talk about the hand with the 4 fingers or 2 fingers or 1 and
the signals are all back.
He did it. He did it. Look at that sexy puppet. Yeah.
Strings dangling. There's one puppet whose strings are untied.
Newsman. The puppet and Newsman.
The most trusted
Puppet and news without all the fun. Telling the truth.
He's just a
Just a newsman.
Puppet Sam Newsman. I know he's out there unveiling the facts, chasing down
the truth. All right.
Since Roswell. No, you missed. Okay. Yeah.
Broadcasting live deep from an underground military bunker. Here we go. Hey, he knows the truth.
I was like, does he say Roswell? I forget if that's part of it.
You don't cut off Sam Newsman during his intro? No,
yeah, well, it's okay. Listen, broadcasting live deep from an underground military bunker or a spaceship high above the plane of Earth. From the most trusted puppet in media reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman. And
Heard it here first.
Yes, this is Ubermeme. Ubermeme. Ubermeme.
Ubermeme, I would say, if you were in Argentina.
There we go.
Well, and hold on. So, Sam Newsman, I know you've been reporting since Roswell, and you have your tagline, and you could almost copyright and trademark the whole thing. But you can no longer say you're the most trusted puppet in news because Tucker Carlson's out there. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
The other things are already in process, by the way. So that is copyright and trademarked. So already done. So that is in the mix, and there will be more information on that in.
But are you saying there never ever will be a puppet that's more trusted than you? I mean,
no. Listen, I'm telling you what, because the reality is that they're all humans. This goes.
You're admitting you're a puppet.
I'm a real media puppet.
But are you a puppet and a human? Or you're saying you're a pure puppet?
No, I'm a real media puppet. What you hear is the media being called puppets. You hear politicians being called puppets. I don't see them being puppets. I'm a real media puppet. It goes back to the whole idea of gender. The gender and the fact that when I sit there on social media platforms and they ask me what my gender is, I'm looking for puppet. It's puppet. But you know what? I can't sit there and type that in. In fact, I can type it in, but then it's not really official if you think about it, because it's like I need to be recognized. Recognized as what? A real
They, them is not the same as puppet. Sam the newsman deserves his puppet
No,
right.
no, it's Sam Newsman. I'm going to correct you, Bernie. It's Sam Newsman.
There we go. Good job.
You're welcome, Sam.
There you go. Yes, that I just do. It just happens that my name can just lead to a call. And I then would ask people, well, is your middle name? Because it's not mine. At least not that I'm aware of.
And I don't interrupt Bernie lightly. I don't take that lightly. So,
no, well, it's
defending your honor,
a DJ.
Yeah, he interrupts Bernie heavily.
And as a puppet, can I call you sir? Does that still apply? Or is there a separate set of like short?
Yeah, Sam Newsman. Is it they, them? Is it he? Is it she? Or is it just puppets?
You know, it's interesting you say that because I went to go look up a bunch of different ones of these pronouns online. And I think that if you pull up my Instagram account, that's at Sam Newsman on Instagram. I think I have it's it's a he. I think it's Z-E. There's like 4 different ones, but it just led all into. There you go.
X. I would use X or Your Majesty. My favorite pronoun is Your Majesty. If anyone calls me that, I'm comfortable.
Now, just so you know, yo, Sam. Yeah, that's fine. Yo, Sam, that's fine. That's,
just because you look like a Ken doll between your legs doesn't mean you don't have toes. Although you still
don't know that.
you have toes.
I do have toes. In fact, I have Jordans on. What are you talking about?
You keep trying to say, Sam, and again, I respect the hell out of you. You keep trying to prove that you have toes by showing me your shoes, and I'm just not buying it. I'm sorry. And this is my Boston. This is just like we're a little salty, okay? So, I mean,
yo, who's Aiden?
When are you eventually going to clear up?
Hey, how's it going?
So, joining us from Alex Stein's Primetime at 99 show on the Blaze Network is the ghost of Aiden.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Also, AKA known as White Darius.
Yeah, I was showing you my toes.
And he's a fellow AI artist. Well, no, it's just out of social.
Oh my God! I never noticed how beautiful your toes were.
Now back to focusing on you, Mr.
You're gonna have a.
Oh my goodness! Whoa, you got the okay. I stand corrected.
Wait, who's the AI guy?
What the hell did you think I had in my damn shoes?
Sam
what do you think
has toes. All right.
What are you talking about?
You're just Jordan's floating around in nowhere.
I have this. I have my damn shoes. I mean, what else do I need?
I love being proved wrong. I'm so glad, and I love the sass that's coming back at me. This is entertaining. This is what radio used to sound like growing up.
Well, I don't remember the shoes.
I have a radio show.
You got to argue with each other, otherwise your ratings tank, as Eminem would say.
You can go on to OnlyFans and look up Sam's Only Toes, and that's where you'll see his beautiful, beautiful toes.
Yeah. Now we're all going to be selling feet pics of.
My beautiful felt puppet feet. There you go. The only Sam's.
Felt puppet.
Only Sam's.
Listen, only Sam's. Only Sam's.
That's where we're going. Where we're going, we don't need legs.
Well, I don't know if that's taken yet. It'll probably be taken by the end of the show.
No, we'll be done. I'm sure someone thought of it. But okay, you have. Do you have any news stories you want to talk about, or do you want to just reflect on? I mean, you saw that guy light himself on fire. What have you been thinking about this week?
Well, it's not what I've been thinking about this week. It's what I've been thinking about today.
Oh,
what happened today? Well, some pretty big things happened today.
But if I take you back, old newsman, it's news. News means today, right? Isn't it? Okay.
Well, news means in the last couple of hours. But before we go there, I want to take you back to Berkshire in 1936. Education at Eton College, going on to study at Christ Church at Oxford, and then eventually joining the family bank in 1963, but left in 1980 after falling out with his cousins, Sir Evelyn. He went on to build his own financial empire in the City of London, founding investment trust RIT Capital, which he chaired until 2019. With a family estimated fortune of about 825 million in euros, or is that pounds? Whatever. According to last year's Sunday Times Rich List, he was described as superbly accomplished financier, a champion of the arts and culture, a devoted public servant, passionate supporter of charitable causes, and in this case with Israel, and Jewish culture. A keen environmentalist, a much-loved friend, father, and grandfather, in a statement released by his family. Lord Jacob Rothschild, dead at 87.
Really?
The floor is yours, gentlemen.
My
question
immediate
is-
comment is paranoid.
I knew about
Thomas from Paranoid American posted this earlier. Jacob Rothschild might be gone, but he will live forever with this AI model available for free. So you can always go to Civitai and you can download the Jacob Rothschild model. You can install it in any of these stable diffusion systems, and then you can make.
And we are one step closer to Skynet coming alive via hologram Jacob's Rothschilds. Just let him rest in peace, no?
No good. I think what you can even
You
do.
think that is a good thing, Bernie, or
no?
You should be able to run these right in Civitai pretty soon, also. So people will be able to run prompts the same as Dolly, and run them directly with these particular models all chained together virtually, and that'll be great. So yeah, cheers to the future, I suppose. And also, it's always a good time to listen to the Rothschilds musical. I think that's the most important thing you can do. The people who made
the track you made. Oh.
well, the
There
people
is a Rothschild-
or
Yeah,
is the most important thing now to figure out which ones are his children and what they're up to and what they inherit.
No, David's okay. I think that they're ineffectual. Like, it isn't what we could think about it, but whatever. I think what's more interesting is like understanding the family, right? If you're so interested in the Rothschilds, I find it really interesting that I posted 2-3 weeks ago a video with the title "The Rothschilds Are Perfectly Normal People."
And if you're an advertiser or just a human looking to take a photograph and animate it so that it looks like it's moving or talking, not only do you have Xirtus, AI extraordinaire, AI artist extraordinaire, but Aiden as well. I don't know if he can pull up a few samples, or I could go into my Instagram. He sent me a few just short clips of some.
You're allowed
AI.
to do that. You're allowed to.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Aiden, please tell us more.
All right. That'll mean I have to put him on tonight.
He's wicked smart, by the way, and he dresses almost cooler than Xirtus, which is hard to say. But go ahead.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah. The AI, the scene of it, it's great and all. It appears though that there are so many knockoffs of all these diffusion models that there's not that much actual they can't really control all of them. So you can say you can get any images of anything except porn. That's very difficult on most of them. But everything else is free go. There's no censorship. I would
say you could easily make horrible things if you're making your own personal models. And then, of course, in Civitai, there are people that are sharing not safe for work models. But the ideal solution is to train ethical models, and so you'd have to purchase the training material, which would be purchasing content. So it's going to be really interesting in the future because so much of OpenAI's content was stolen, and it's not necessarily
stolen.
they're just waiting.
It's all stolen.
Yeah, but Google's actually pretty clean.
If you look at some of these diffusion models, and if you
Are
when
we
you did
talking
diffusion,
stolen or open source? And
no, stolen.
Open
so
source, open source is definitely steal. But I know, and I actually have my own proof of it, that if you put something, if you overstep it, if the image is only supposed to have 500 steps generation and you put 700, there's a good chance you'll see a copyright watermark on it.
Right.
Well, you can do
amazing things with negative prompts in Stable Diffusion to remove watermarks and things like that. But yes, that proves that they are trained on watermarked art, which is one of the major reasons they're suing. And Google this year made a $60 million a year renting of the data model from Reddit. So you're now going to see legal models that Google has. And it's going to be very interesting, the difference between Gemini, because, wow, as soon as I said that, Gemini was like, yeah, okay, let's talk. That was really interesting. It's really eager to log in on my phone. Oh, hi,
So
I'm
speaking,
Gemini.
that's the news item here. So Gemini just came out this week because some people are going to be listening to this in the future if they're not listening to it live, and it's good to bring up topical things like little reference points to prove that this wasn't in the can for 3 weeks and that we're just putting it at. But so with Gemini, what I'm seeing is that the safety layer that they put on there was meant to kind of be visually obvious and create, what seemed like an imbalance toward the not showing white people. But in reality, whether it's deciding to correct an imbalance about the overall images that are out there, or in any random grouping of 4, you may have 4 white people, 4 dark-skinned people. But outside of trying to, be triggered by the race baiting aspect of this, what it's showing is that you can put a layer on top of a AI generation system that asks, is it this? And if it's this, then make this decision about it, to either include it or to not include it in what you're putting out there. And so it's kind of a public demonstration of, so the thing I compare it to is the people in my city in Boston that were able to outlaw plastic straws. And on one hand, why would you waste your time and spin your wheels doing such a thing? On the other hand, I want to talk to those people because they were able to actually push something through from idea to concept to implementation very quickly. And it was somewhat meaningless and no one's really getting harmed outside of inconvenience for a customer. But so if you have something else really important that maybe either needs to get passed publicly or information that needs to get distributed public, the people that are able to get plastic straws outlawed wherever you are, they're connected, so to speak, not like in the old sense of the word, but just like literally like maybe the new school business networking through politics. If you just need to get higher on the probability list, that you're not going to end up in Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State, like 50,000 emails a day. How is she supposed to sort through that? So again, that's where the people, if you trust people to scan through 1,000 of them and pick the 3 that are actually important, that's kind of an old, you relying on the wetware as opposed to just the software. And so Gemini demonstrated that it is possible to put a layer. Now, depending on what you want that layer to do, what if it said no ugly people? It's like they all have to score an average of 7.8 out of 10 on the attractiveness scale, because that was like also included in something that no one really mentions. Whereas Alex Stein on his show, despite his bombastic antics and stuff, he's very inclusive and he celebrates, being alive and healthy and being what some people would call differently abled or this, that, or the other. And yeah, it's funny how everyone was commenting on the race of the people, right, for Gemini, but I didn't hear anyone comment on the how attractive all the people were.
I have a thought on that. I wanted to say, so Blake Lemoyne, Google whistleblower, a friend of mine, I went and talked to him about Gemini recently, and he said he was doing some Bing, some Google Bard prompts, and the prompts he was doing were, okay, make a woman. So it made a woman, and it was a white woman. This is early on. Make a woman, and it made another white woman. Make a woman, and it made, I think, a darker woman. Make a woman, and another white woman. And then he said, okay, now do like statistics and show me like what are the probabilities that in 5 or 10 or whatever these amount of women, that the amount of these women would be like blonde white women. And it was like in that kind of probability is like less than 0.5% or something like that. It was so small of a chance. Like, all right, well, why are you being racist? Like, why is this like your intuition? And I think these kinds of early conversations are already reflected in Google, in Gemini. It's like immediately that changed things. And so one of the main pictures people were sharing was the one with the colonial forefathers or founding fathers. And it shows an Asian man, an African American or Caribbean, perhaps, native, what was the tribe, the Algonquin looking colonial founding father with a wig, and several other, Native American like chief. And it's like, well, that's accurate. Like that's more Tartarian.
Those things are also true because AOC today, AOC in the news, if you see it, it means who? Sam Newsman, you would know this.
Say that again.
Who's AOC?
Oh,
or what? No, I should say what is AOC?
Oh man, she's a fox, isn't she? Oh
yeah,
man.
but it also means like they're called Articles of Confederation, and you're like the dinky little Declaration of Independence and what we call our Constitution that we claim is the original, even though Washington D.C. burned down in the early 1800s, and then magically we had a copy of it. And it's almost likely that whoever was living in Oklahoma and had resettled there wrote what they thought would be our Constitution, because who knows if there really is a real record of it. But AOC, it's just an interesting time for those letters to be coming back into the news in a way where people just kind of throw them about and bandy them. Oh, it's AOC, and it's like fun to talk about AOC, but like in reality, you will know that America is morphing and or ending or dividing when it's not about one state seceding or the other. What they're going to do is they're going to write some new articles of confederation. And during that time when all shit was hitting the fan in the Americas, the early colonies, there were a series of, I believe, 8 or 9, again, dark-skinned people that weren't president because that system maybe was written in Philadelphia because they claimed there was yellow fever and everyone left so that they could go about their work of writing down a set of principles and values that everyone could agree upon. But in the meantime, the interregnum, which is the people that actually see the continuity of government people that are a little bit different than the deep state people, apparently, are actually implementing laws. And, so.
Well, it's interesting that you guys bring up the whole. Yeah. Well, I think the whole idea in AI, when you see CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, saying that this is not just hype, that this is real. The bankers are starting to realize that this is real. There's stock trades that are happening using artificial intelligence. And of course, I see an article right here from the BBC saying that AI could make the 4-day work week inevitable. Why? Because companies will be using AI on that 5th day. So you'll have your 4 days. The 1 day is just an automation and AI based off your work and productivity during the week. So I think it's very interesting. Oh, and also real quick, Microsoft, what was it? They say that, Google said that they will relaunch Gemini in a few weeks after getting some bugs out, whatever that means.
Well, it used to actually mean when your computer system was malfunctioning, it was because there was a nest of moths in your vacuum tubes that were shorting out a circuit. So you would have to go in there with a vacuum cleaner and vacuum out the cobwebs. And so debugging originally was like a form of like pest control. And that's
I just remember I always was told to have a nice air can next to my rig, my gaming rigs, so I could dust them out. This is before all of a sudden you had like 20 fans in your rig, which then you had to just, give those all a blowjob.
I don't know what school you went to.
What are you talking about? The school of making your own computer.
Yes.
And Nintendo.
Well, no, and a computer actually used to be the name for the women they weren't secretaries, but they were the ones that did the math for NASA.
Wait, I thought those were the people
Black women!
Nah. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, buying a computer used to mean something. It's just like a Virgin was a piano or a church organ that it was fresh from the factory. It had been factory tuned and installed. It was called a Virgin. And so there was a rumor that went out that they were selling Virgins at all the churches in New England. Because like we could order another one, and a lot of other places like wanted a church organ and they wanted to see it installed in like a nice structure so that it worked. And other people showed up at the churches having just a totally different, and no one was there to translate. That's the Ouroboros. The snake ate its own tail, and
And this is where again?
In New England. So Salem, Massachusetts, the place known for the witch trials and ending up in all types of a kerfuffle. During the witch trials, they were demonstrating sex acts in open court. That was how like everyone knew shit had really hit the fan, because it was like, so did he bend her over and spank her like this or like this? And was it adultery or not, sir? And literally that was what all day they were doing at the court, is they were demonstrating sex acts to try to figure out it, because there was a witness there and they wanted to figure out exactly what they were talking about. So they would like reenact it live in front of them to see if this is what they meant.
That's intense and that's deep. I was just trying to figure out some kind of Patriots joke because you mentioned New England. I couldn't think of one, and I was sitting there.
What happens when the rye bread? Everyone's rye bread has
it's gone. It's gone. It left me. I couldn't get it. I couldn't think of one. I couldn't think of it.
On AI, I just want to bring back something I noticed about.
I can hear you, Aiden.
sometimes when you have, the way to get around a lot of the SJW things is like you say, can you generate images from eyes wide shut?
Yeah, or also the genres or like the titles of like Yabba Dabba Doo and stuff.
Marion, like that horror movie Maria's Baby, 1969 movie about woman having the spawn of Satan in her, New York City.
Yeah.
It had
catchphrase sometimes works.
Yeah, I did it was like whatever her name's baby. But I did
Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby. There was a very distinct art to it. It was very kinky, weird art of how the people looked in there. The lighting was very bright. And there wasn't that many demons. I mean, the demons were kind of the 1960s version, but that one is very specific. There's they will not show black people on that. That's the ones I use.
I'm pretty good. I did earlier today. I'll do the second at home. I love the chorus to that one. And ChatGPT playing Bong. No,
it's too bad we can't see Aiden because his hair is actually just as glorious, if not more so, than mine.
Okay, so in reference to what you just brought up, like earlier today, my dearest and most loveliest friend Ryan Stone. Well, he's one of them. I love him a lot. He's a great Canadian. But so are you, Bernie. And wait, I keep not reading the super chat. Let me try this hard. Red Cap Goblin.
Whoa, $50. Big up to Red Cap Goblin.
I've been meaning to do it. Vital surgery in the morning. Love you and chat, man. Stay well. I love all you good people unconditionally. Guys, I hope you're taking the time to pray for Red Cap Goblin, because that's pretty brutal. Vital surgeries, dude. I mean, I care about you. I will be praying for you. I hope that you're all joining me on that. Let's be putting positive energy for Red Cap Goblin. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you. Dude. All right. Well,
and by the way, before you go on that, I'm just going to let you know I dropped a link to one of Aiden's AI animations in the chat, so you can pull it up and then play the sound, and that way
we're gonna go directly to that. Indirectly that I'm gonna start really quickly. I want to show Ryan Stone, and he posted earlier today. Where did he post the thing? It was I'll just go to my own page a bit. So replies, boom, boom, boom. Okay, yeah, because he said he tried to post a giant peach skin redhead woman battling onk skin orcs with a giant hammer. The orcs all have cell phones, and he's like, Pearl is so lucky that Bing AI is woke. But it's not that hard. All you have to do is say sun blistered imperfect skin, and obsidian orcs, and things like that, and you can very quickly get around that. It's not something I even really care to do. I'm just saying it's not that hard to make it happen if you're creative in language. Let me pull up your
reference a celebrity or a known person like Boudica, like the redheaded warrior of Ireland.
Nice. And this is your video, which, by the way, look at this. This is nice. This is really nice. What did you use to do this?
Pika Labs.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen some interesting stuff with Runway, especially if you use pre-generated images. But
Richard Greer.
I definitely see Richard Greer.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way it's not. It's of course for Richard Greer. Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
And is he becoming Jeffrey Epstein sometimes when he has the rats around him?
Well, they're also eating him. Yeah, I was surprised I got nipples on that guy.
Yeah.
Screaming nipples, I do not know how I got that.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, this is great.
And then I put a little bit of extra on it.
My dad would unironically watch this on TV if this was a YouTube show. He'd be like, all right, cool. Look where we're going.
And this is from Richard Greer. I got mad at him for doing some migrant thing. So I was like, all right, let's make a joke about this. And that is all.
That's so brutally specific.
That is fantastic. Red Spice. This could sell as a Red Spice commercial. All you need is a deodorant stick popping up randomly throughout.
Wow.
Wait, the Alex Stein fans out there,
Did
I show you the prep ad?
Or let the
No,
artist
let's
speak,
go back to your
obviously.
channel. I'll see if I can find it on your channel. Let me subscribe. Guys, check out Aiden Orfield AI videos. I can't even believe this. This is some really nice stuff here. Let's look at this
But he
one really
snuck
quick.
in the face of Black Darius from the Alex Stein show, and he's White Darius. These are monikers that
Is this also Pika? They're
Alex is
doing.
given.
Are you using?
Yeah, I used okay on this one. I also had sound that was kind of good because it made it a little like no, yeah. I have my voice in it.
So this one it uses you know, you've got obviously like specific zones that you're animating, right? Like you're able to pick color 5 or so zones that you can animate different things going on.
Yeah, I was like violating a lot of copyrights. I would find certain images and then cut out the backgrounds, stuff like that. Like my whole thing was demonstrating it as a tech demonstration.
Yeah.
Because the idea was like, okay, like because this was also coming when Zendaya was going to be Cleopatra. So I thought this would be really funny to see how bad that movie would be. And lo and behold, like I also have sound on it that makes it kind of funnier, but
Well, I'm sure everyone here is going to watch this video. I'm going to send a link to it here. I don't know if I figure out a way I can play the sound, but I have a problem. I have a problem playing sound because of the, because I have to use like, what's it called? Like a virtual microphone input to make it work.
This reminds me of Jim Carrey's last tweet. Does Sam Newsman have a brain that allows him to remember Jim Carrey's last tweet?
I don't remember Jim Carrey's last tweet.
So he signed off by having an animated cartoon and a poem that he wrote and performed, and saying he's like, this is what you should be expecting as like a bare minimum level of something interesting from a celebrity that you're following, as kind of like a parting note to Twitter. And I don't know if he's come back since it turned into X, but as a new thing too, like it's funny for me to like clip together a few images that look similar or, you know, have shapes or like an interesting juxtaposition. But the new standard too is to have the ability to use these AI tools. If you're going to post anything, a still image, just a video of yourself that you haven't mucked with, it's like, it's just so lazy intellectually and otherwise, you know, you might as well put it through the filter of just weirdness or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Like, I feel like, you know, I call that the Mr. Beast thing. You know, you have to put money or a lot of time and effort into something to get people to watch it. But yeah,
and then people dismiss it. Oh, it's AI art. It must not be difficult, right? Whereas immediately, Andreas was recognizing something about the 4 to 5 different zones that, to me, it wasn't jargon. You know, it wasn't Greek, so to speak, but it's a language amongst creators that if you were trying to correct something, or if there's a client who's going, it's not up to my standard, I can't tell you what it is about the video, but it's not what I wanted, or it's not quite what I need. You need to have someone who speaks the language of the technology itself enough to understand how to intervene in what is 98% what the client wants that they are rejecting somehow.
Yeah, because like, you know, to get one good video, sometimes one video clip on like Pika Labs, it would cost, sometimes I think I went over like 200 times, like just to get a good expression of Zendaya kind of looking disgusted. Because some of those pictures, you know, it's like, you know, the Transformers, they don't have like an equal distribution of just, you know, specific emotions. We didn't like, there's no training data that will tell you somebody that wants to fight or versus somebody who's recalcitrant. There's no definition of that. So like there's a lot of specificity that you don't really get anymore. That like is like a new language thing that people are going to be very like, it's going to be like a kind of like what was it 1984 when it comes to language.
Earlier in the stream, oh, go ahead, Xirtus. I was going to say earlier in the stream, we were talking about different types of glasses and looking and being able to see things. And being someone who is a creator in the space. And by the way, Andreas could show off you did a similar Roman army montage the other, if you can dig that out, that one was pretty top notch.
I have no idea.
I eventually think these are going to be Super Bowl ads, and Andreas is going to be being paid $1 million to do this once a year for the brand that wins. And each year, instead of being looking forward to the Budweiser horses, you're going to have a paradigm of what's going to be the really funky AI ad this year. And he's going to get to kind of choose the company and the amount that, you know, is corresponding with that for a Super Bowl ad, or, you know.
I did make a the Travis Kelce prep ad.
Nice.
Yeah, that one was fun because it was like I just thought of Hunter PI, 1980s. So that one was very quick. Well, this is earlier, like 2019-ish, like the style of it.
Yeah, it's definitely using the stable diffusion like zoom, like waveform zoom more than I need to at this point. I need to.
I remember that person that
there's
started
earmarks.
that. It was,
please go ahead, Aiden.
She had this it was very interesting. It was just some random woman like that just started it. It wasn't like a PhD student that started that type of the AI video that you just saw there.
I think the interpolator, there was an MIT student girl who did like interpolator. Deforum is a little different because it works on kind of similar rules to Pico, but it doesn't have yet access to ControlNet, which I think I can get working, and I'm probably going to have working in the next couple of weeks. But then I'll be able to do multi-zone, where you'll be able to pick zones you want to animate. And I have a lot of thoughts on how to use trigonometry to have background models that you're like, okay, well, this is the scene, and use Blender to imagine a movie.
That is a solution. So there's a new AI that just came out this week. And so, Andreas, this might make sense based on what you just said, is there were two dogs that were playing in the snow, and when one went behind the other, it acknowledged on the screen that what they've done, the objects that go into the background, there's continuity in them. Because in terms of the frame interpolation, there are systems that it doesn't have that trademark scanner darkly, where it's like morphing between the frames that they've smoothed, but that could be something that is desirable. So to say that it's one thing to have control over it, to say that you've built a better one that doesn't do that is a separate discussion.
I think that
there's going to be a lot of Transformer.
Yeah. Upscaling.
There's going to be Transformers.
Tweeners. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think between tweeners and having something that's going to be, when you do the upscaling now, using Stable Diffusion to upscale, that also can recorrect because it's aware of what the middle frame was, and so you'll get colors, you'll get lighting perfections. I mean, it's gonna be really interesting when it starts efforting towards making continuity. But right now, the continuity it's getting is more like, this is the surrounding of a 3D model. This is all of the frames saved of this 3D model. It's not necessarily getting the idea of motion, except now if you look at Imogen. And so again, with Imogen training models on continuity, so everything's gonna get back to cinematography, continuity, and physical.
See, at the end of one of the Ninja Turtle movies, Splinter goes, "I made another funny one," because he finally tells a joke, and Splinter's so every now and then, I'll remember something from watching about an AI video, even though I don't understand it well enough. It was like I brought it to the table here, and I think it wasn't funny, but it made sense. The idea that sometimes the AI image frame is, if an object goes behind another one, it doesn't reemerge in the same shape. It might end up getting kind of morphed, and it doesn't look photorealistic. But that doesn't mean there isn't a certain je ne sais quoi to that type of field.
Well, so a lot of evidence shows that the new chat.
Yeah, play yours.
No, ChatGPT 5 looks like it's been trained a lot on Unreal Engine and Unity, and generally, the idea of 3D model and video game engines in general. So that's physics. Understanding of physics that it didn't before. I think that's going to be interesting because of spatial. Right now, we're just making pictures. That's so backwards. We should be focusing on making.
I'm on boycott, protest, muting myself until Xirtus agrees to show off at least one of the amazing freaking things that he creates and doesn't. You got to humble brag and show at least maybe the Roman Empire. I mean, they're only 15 seconds. Unless you're purposely burying them deep back in the stream. But
I think the AI music is enough of a flex, isn't it? I mean, kick those funky beats.
Just wait and see. No, I mean, right.
Isn't it wild how decent and on average, it's got great flow, rhythm, and appeal of just what the AI creates for music? That's kind of wild.
Yeah, but I love also what Aiden's doing, because you can get specific places to emerge. Oh, there's an example. I'll see if I can get it full screen. you get specific scenes to emerge, and that you can hold things steady. And I think that's really interesting. Trying to hold something steady is really difficult. So that I can see how that must have taken a long time to make that video, Aiden. So it's a really good proof of concept.
Well, that's the funny thing was it was like 80 hours, like the first one. Like I guess like somewhere around there. Like a lot of it was me just scanning Google. But it was surprising. Like that was like how quick it went. Like compared to like, South Park, that was over a month. An average anime. I made one anime proof of concept, light-skinned gunslinger. It's a joke on Blue-Eyed Samurai. That one took only 30 hours. Or something like that, and it's not very technical. Well, it is technical work, but it's more of patience. So it's like, it's very weird. Like, but even like, for example, Pika AI, if you or like a lot of image generators, if you say black eye and you put it in an anime setting, they will think Boondock Saints no matter what. They will like the type of animation, the type of drawing, and all the type of the colors they use is very Boondock Saints. So it's
Right.
like, it's nice. Like I'm kind of using Boondock Saints to do it. There's definitely going to be a lawsuit on that, but
Yeah, it's that's what I keep saying. I think about the training, because it'll be easy for us to see the difference pretty soon between a model that's trained on the 21st and 20th century copyrighted material and everything up to 1928, right? And then also Reddit for 60 million a year. But you have to think about how different it would be to have the more Tartarian AI, which is like the secrets of Nim. It just burns everything that we're not allowed to use and forgets about it. And I think we could really move past it. There's a lot of things that are just trash. A lot of the media is just trash. It's not made for reruns anyway, right? It's not going to hold up the same way that but some of the early stuff, like from 1928 to the 30s, we're going to start to see that emerge, and then it'll become ubiquitous. I think we're going to be benefited by ignoring the mistakes of the last 40 years or so.
I started researching a lot of bad horror movies from the 1960s, 1970s, like ones involving mannequins, and it's like, oh my god. I forget a few of their names, but
that
like,
Pygmalion movie though is really good. Pygmalion about mannequin.
It's interesting because manic means you are moving about rapidly and unpredictably, perhaps, but a mannequin, it stays very still, don't they?
Yeah, that is weird.
Except for in 1987 and 1991, right? Mannequin movie, Mannequin and Mannequin 2, Mannequin on the Run.
And Manichean is something. I don't even know what that means.
Oh god, Mannequin on the Run is my favorite. I actually like it slightly more than Mannequin.
Oh my god, Vaporwave, 1980s.
Oh, Mannequin 2, Mannequin on the Move.
Vaporwave.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have the poster, so I should know
there
better.
There were so many retrowave soundtracks using that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big fan.
Aiden has two adorable golden retrievers that are often featured on his in some of his work. But he does. He's playing the game of attempting to remain slightly anonymous as a human, despite appearing on Alex Stein's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. show.
Well, not really anymore. He's still mad at me. So, like, I don't know what happened to him, but
let's hope Alex is doing okay. He embodies a lot of energy for a lot of people, and he's holding a space.
I bless my fingers that no one from the New York Times saw my face that night.
Well, you went to the you went to the rally for Nikki Haley.
Yeah, and you could just see me and Darius, because like I was.
You got in, and Alex didn't get in.
but me and Darius were just like, Alex is talking to cops. Run, like just.
Yeah. Wild night. Well, I want to make sure. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely post another one of those videos.
Do you have
But,
do you
yeah,
post
it's
it on
like
your
it's.
on your Twitter, or where do you post stuff?
I think it's going to be Instagram and TikTok. Because
Okay.
initially I was thinking of putting them on the Sign Show. I don't think that's going to happen now. But yeah,
And
now I'm
Andreas, I
like,
can get you his info afterwards in case he dips out in the after if he doesn't want to share it publicly. That's
Yeah,
fine.
sweet. For
no,
sure,
like I
dude.
will. I mean,
No, it
but,
adds a
like,
layer of mystique to the artist. You know, you're just not available to anyone to do
I
this.
make
you know?
art. You're just not allowed to see it because it's in the Prince Vault. My new album's called Prince Vault. I decided.
well, it's like the hyperventilating of you copying other people's work to make a new work, and then somebody stealing that idea to make it, and then somehow they're more popular than you doing it.
Well, in the way Andreas does it, it's not an NFT, but he
my
did
life.
play it once within the last 3 weeks. Let's put it that way. So if you're enough of a fan, you would like see the amazing work he produces because obviously you were watching his stream when he played it. And otherwise, you know, if you really want to see that kind, because it's like it's an experience. If you put on, especially the eyeglasses, and you watch that, I mean, you could
Vision
charge like
Pro. I'm gonna
$50
get
a pop.
I'm gonna get it all like streaming. I have a goal of having like just like nonstop all of the stuff I make all the time, 24 hours a day. Once I have 24 hours or 12 hours for the stream, I think, of AI art, then I'll just make it loop and then I'll keep adding to it and that'll be cool.
I was thinking of doing that for like a bar idea, just like take like an hour worth of vaporwave, like weird vaporwave scenes, like that aesthetic.
Yeah,
Like
and run it through
AI
Resolum.
videos
Yeah.
of that.
See,
I used to
I
VJ a
still
lot.
don't know what vaporwave means, but I heard Andreas use the word a bunch of times, and so I love that Aiden. It's like you guys not only speak the same technical language, but there's a creative, also shared frame of reference where.
Well, also
I mean,
when I started my radio show back in 2018, I started off playing vaporwave and synthwave.
Oh,
This was
nice.
back in 2018, before the great disruption of the 80s cartoon flashback or throwback Thursday that happened. That was
I'm surprised you waited that long, because isn't that what Roswell was? They landed with a disc of vaporwave music, and you waited until 2018 to roll that out to the public, dude. Man,
Well, it's
and
called
you haven't aged a day
backwards
since.
engineering. Listen, NDAs, backwards engineering. If I had to sit there and tell everybody the whole time, then it wouldn't be a surprise today.
I was definitely making and listening to vaporwave in 2007. I just wasn't sharing it with anybody. You know, we had like Resolum, Archaeos, all these, well, for Resolum, but like Modulate and all these VJ apps. And what we would do is we play videos through other videos, like the blue screen from the Weather Channel, but it would be the pink from Gem and the Holograms with the green removed from Transformers or G.I. Joe, you know, like whatever it is. And then like Reagan in front of that talking. And so, and you'd slow things down and speed them up. And you'd listen to that on loop for like 12 hours at a time. And that was vaporwave, but people wanted dubstep. So we did that, you know, we sold what we had to sell, you know.
And there wasn't that many Ryan Gosling films.
There were a few though. Right?
There was, yeah. I don't know if they get like
Lars
do I
wasn't
get it correct that Sam Newsman is responsible for reverse engineering vaporwave for us all from Roswell back in the day?
I mean, I didn't say that was a rumor I heard somewhere, but you know.
Well, listen, I can't disclose anything because I sign NDAs, but I do have a radio show where sometimes things get released every Saturday morning. So sometimes there will be things that slip out, and I will have superiors often call in and tell me that I've said too much.
And if you're a young hobbyist and or even not a young hobbyist and you're interested in broadcasting, because this is one type of streamcasting or podcasting, but just old school radio broadcasting, there may be a club in your area that you can join, and there's funding available to make sure that it's, again, part of like the COG system where outside of the military that's actually got their output, there's a civilian layer to it to make sure that everyone's comms are online. And, you know, you can fill that void by just playing test frequency. Power to the people, yo.
Have you seen Trancers? You know that movie?
Yes.
So Trancers is my new favorite Christmas movie. I know this is a little off topic and we're 2 hours deep and we'll probably end after this, but unless Sam's got another story, I just wanted to say.
I've got 3 more images just about the that I finally dug out at the end, but outside of that, just
all right.
You know,
I'll take it. I'll take it. No, sustained. But Trancers or Future Cop, amazing movie. He has to travel through time by traveling through his genetic line. He leaps into like some like loopy socialist poet guy, but he's a future cop. And like Helen Hunt's dating him right after Howard the Duck leaves her or something. It's crazy. It's amazing. But it's Christmas time in LA, you know, in like 1980. And you have to stop the trancers. It's amazing.
Oh my god. Yeah, that looks like the aesthetic of this movie looks perfect.
It's a great movie. It's all about Jack Death. His name is Death. He hunts trancers, even in the 20th century. Come on, right? And you know, it's got this
cue the synth wave. You know, drop the beat. Yeah,
like, I don't know whatever happened with Helen Hunt, but you know, she was great, right? Yeah. Also, Sam Newsman is really cool. I like Sam Newsman. Wait, before we do it, I owe Stefan. He wanted to pull up 3 more pictures.
Yeah, so you can just corroborating some of the earlier things that I was talking about. So, by the way, you guys were talking about Reddit, and in this screenshot from the same document, isn't that Reddit? Is that the same way it's spelled?
Yeah, of course it is.
Wild. I mean, whatever. Anyways, and just like there was a Canadian Montreal newspaper called GOGLU that was like the rebel paper for a while, but separate issue. So as far as diagrams that claim to be mapping one thing that look like a microchip. Yeah. I mean, again, depending on what you're interpreting as what symbol, if each one of these is an out port for your, you know, this is like where you would solder something in. And so there's one thing, maybe this was never built, but it's a historical tradition to encode things in clothing and in architecture.
No, that's definitely true.
And let's see, outside of the theory,
I can't find Reddit in etymology. I can't find the word Reddit anywhere. But of course, let me do an ngram search now for Reddit and see if I can find the use of the word Reddit the last 400 years or so. Wow. Okay, so look, Reddit shows up in 15. Whoa, oh, screwed that up. Where did it go?
Yeah.
What? Come back. There it is. Reddit shows up. It like is a kind of a boom in the 15th century, and then, yeah, again a generation later, it's really popular once it's read a few times. Reddited.
So our song "Na Na 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 Hey 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 Goodbye," which is kind of appropriate here for the end of a stream, but so there was the no-knock warrants, or no, it was that Rabbi Nachman was a controversial figure in Ukrainian history.
Dude, Jack Death's boss did quantum leap into his teenage grandmother, and also wasn't into his grandmother as a child, which was hilarious because she's like 9 years old and she has to like sneak out of her parents' house. That was amazing.
Huh.
Sorry.
Oh no worries. And then, but these kind of repetitive algorithms where Rabbi Nachman had 2 books or 2 works that he insisted upon his death that they be destroyed. So again, it's as far as like having sacred knowledge that you think is sacred. And what does it mean? It's like when you go to the moon, you destroy the technology afterwards, and yeah, we'd have to rebuild it at this point, right? Isn't that what they say? But so you have it emanating from the way that his followers found the burnt remains, or maybe he led them to the books to be burnt, was that there was something that was going na, na, nach, na, nachma, na, nachmaran, and it was like a recursive set of building syllables. And so you have, in this Isaac Newton thing, you have dot, dicat, dedicat, and then redit, retribuit, and depending on how you pronounce it and how many syllables there are, I don't know, but yeah, Reddit. I just thought that was again another one of these. Could be just a coincidence. I'm glad you looked up the etymology of it to see if there was any.
I tried, bro. I tried. All I could find was usage. Ngram. I think right now Sam is looking for it. He's looking. He's deeply searching. He's searching.
Yeah, well, yes. He's always in deep contemplation. You can tell by the expression on his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ancient talking about how they would bounce signals off the moon all the time, and people would argue about which man was on the moon or where to listen. If you go to the upper left, and the moon might have been a giant reflector satellite dish. But again, when you go back through, so the principle of the theurgia, again, the ancient mystery schools, just for 2,000 years, these guys would grow beards and they would stick them in the asylums and maybe give them access to books, and they didn't have access to the internet the way we do today. But eventually, spooky action at a distance. Again, before quantum, this was just a reference to the telegraph, and there are. The names are escaping me at this point, but you go back in the year 1200, maybe John Dee. No, there was a guy working who was adjacent to John Dee. He comes up as the first name in his Wikipedia page. And he was specifically responsible for saying, no, I've got these jars and this dial over here. And if you go in that room, when I turn this dial, that dial is going to turn to the same thing, which is the exact description of the telegraph as quote unquote patented in the year, 18 whatever. But he was ridiculed for saying that this existed. And again, people would play with refrigerator magnets and say, no, see, that doesn't work. And again, just trying to claim space out for the alternate history. The work that Bernie did, I believe, will eventually be recognized or enshrined in some sort of mainstream, accepted by whom, I don't know, but I believe that it is well worthy of a budget to put together some sort of mini documentary about the discovery that our friend Bernie made, apparently. I mean, friggin' A, dude.
Appreciate that. I'll be working on. I'll be going back there this year, the spring, the summer, because I'm in Canada. It's winter right now. It's freaking cold, but summer comes.
I don't think it's going anywhere. It's like it's one thing to like have found an artifact and you have to get it verified, but no, it's like the thing that you found is just kind of there, and then building the story around it is a
macro terraformed macro structure. It's wild.
And if you wanted to Google one last thing to just like a Morty's mind blower to show the audience. So this is up in Bernie's neck of the woods, Lake Manicouagan Reservoir. Do you know what that is?
No.
And it's spelled M-A-I-N-I-C. So again, mannequin. I didn't even realize it was already meant to talk about it. And then M-A-N-I-C-O-U-G-A-N. And if you look at the Google map of it,
what? Oh wow!
And they're like, it's a natural made feature that just kind of exists and like distributes all the fresh water all around, and like
who gets to live? Alberta. Who gets to live here? Because I want to live here. I want to live there. That's my goal now. My new goal.
Oh yeah, that is definitely Sasquatch territory.
Yeah, that's what, no. I was gonna say that's where they get to. That's how you keep the humans away from that.
It like lost. This map is so big, bro. It's such a big map. Oh my gosh,
dude! Think about this again. You saw a little circle of water, right? And you're on Google Maps. People don't have a reference for how large that is. There are, man-made
nobody on this island. Where's like the city? Is it like a farm? Where's the dude? Lighthouse.
The question is that a floating piece of land, or is there bedrock underneath that center spot?
Back of a turtle.
Is a question.
Right, because that's northern Alberta. That could be in the area that's considered permafrost. So
I think it's like that's more than a mile wide, though.
There's a rotating island in Argentina.
Those are relatively, the scale of those is less than an acre usually. No, but again, the Manicouagan, I guess I'll try to look up the diameter of that thing. But anyways, we're at that point where instead of plugging myself, I just figured I'd drop another wormhole that if people wanted to jump down it.
If he drops bits. Well, it was worth it because Aquarians just sent a super sticker of $5 Canadian, and they're colorful. I love them. Thank you. Aiden,
I just had one idea for a song that I always play, especially when I drive to Colorado, like right now. Are Alone Into the Night.
Are Alone Into the Night.
So if I told you guys that was a 70-kilometer wide circle, would that change the level that your jaw dropped when
Get the fuck out, really?
That's 60 miles for the Americans, but it's a 70 and again the depth of that thing, the idea of if it is a man-made creation.
No,
again, the dinosaurs had OCD brains. Anyways.
Camille Clement, Into the Night.
I don't know these songs. You're gonna have to send me the links to those songs.
Yeah, I
will. Let me pull up where you get some of their content. Not that's schizophrenia. I'm sorry, that's funny. Aiden Orfield AI videos, which are some of my favorite new videos. So everyone subscribe to his channel. He's only got 5 subscribers, but at least one new one's happened since earlier. So that's a good start. So everyone go check out his videos because like they're quality. And also, make sure you check out Crypto Alchemist because he's amazing and he's got his own set of incredible videos on this channel, right? Yeah, and also he's doing research into all sorts of, not just geology, which is amazing, but also science, like modern. Well, that's all science, but doing like anti-gravity and free energy, and so a very important channel.
All the weird science, that fringe mad alchemist stuff, right?
Yeah.
I would suggest talking to Kepler Aerospace. those are the guys that are really big about, like, they're actually trying to investigate a lot of the UFO things that the Air Force already knows about.
Yeah, getting Kepler involved would be cool. We would definitely talk. That'd be sweet. And yeah, Aiden, if you're interested in stuff, come enjoy and talk about real science sometime. If you're interested in anti-gravity and all that.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I would love you guys to also Google large R processes on Mars.
Large R, is that like capital F federal? No, sorry.
No, R processes.
Right. Rated R. Yeah, like, is this nuclear evidences?
Yeah, so in 2001, the Mars Odyssey rover found that there was elevated levels of isotopes of, I think it was nitrogen, but it was also weird elements like neon that are only found in nuclear explosions or in stellar things. And they have about, I think, I don't know the exact number, but it was significantly higher than America, than areas that have had nuclear bombardment. So, but
well,
it was
it's easy to explain that, Aiden. It's like all the planets are dead stars.
What?
Sorry. I said all the planets are dead stars, and that's why they have stuff
the amount of the for example, like a lot of this should have not been there, but they found that a lot of the spectrometry experiments, that there's a lot of radiation on Mars that is not accounted, like that cannot be counted. It has to be from extraterrestrial. And I mean, and the guy who kind of thought this up, he's been pretty good about, he used to work for the federal thing of whatchamagiggy of federal geology statistics, and he found enough of that. But the big Mars thing, that was the big thing, is that they found that there is way too many, isotopes that would say nuclear bombs. Now, could that be a giant explosion like 100 million years ago? Or could they be testing a lot of the American and Russian bombs?
Or did something crash? Or did that something that was nuclear powered? Because if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So it's possible that there was a nuclear powered something that was sent either by our civilization or a previous one that ended up there. Now, at the beginning of the stream, I showed that daisy chain of ships that went off into the distance. One way to go to the moon is to go there by sending one thing. Another thing is, like in Spaceballs, there was the halfway station. And what if there's a halfway station to the halfway station, and a halfway station to the halfway station that was the halfway station to the halfway station? And so you build a daisy chain to the moon.
Xenon's halfway station.
And we are on the back of a turtle.
Or a few.
It's made of Swiss cheese, gentlemen. It's made of Swiss cheese.
I like it.
It's a giant mushroom.
I owe everyone a little bit more paying of attention. So I want to say apologize and read that. But Travis McClellan, it's on Patreon. I think you're talking about the AI music and the AI art. Then a lot of things, basically everything, I'm putting just on the Patreon, so it's easy to find but not have to deal with. And like you can just look at it, and there's tons of AI art there, and there's more and more stuff coming out. So it's pretty sweet. So yeah, thank you for supporting the Patreon, which also supports the Discord and supports everything.
Plug Bernie. Don't forget to plug Bernie.
Oh, we'll get you back.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize. Oh, we were well behind on this.
Yeah. John Supp sent a super sticker, and then I said that was cool how Aurorian sent a super sticker, and then I didn't see that John Supp had sent a super sticker before he sent a super sticker, so it's actually 2 super stickers from John Supp, which is super. So I just want to say thank you for that. That was really cool of you. I appreciate that as well. Well, make sure you guys check out Sam the Newsman.
What?
Sam Newsman.
I'm trying to load the page right up. It takes a second sometimes. But Sam Newsman does a radio show, the WDCE 90.3 in Washington, D.C.
No, 90.1.
90.1. Sorry, I wanted to make it rhyme.
Out of the University of Richmond. Just stop. Okay,
you can try to listen to 90.3, but it'll be staticky, so don't do it.
It will be staticky. At Sam Newsman's where you can find me. I do reels every day, but every single Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time, with like cartoon themes, video game themes, movie themes, vaporwave, synthwave, and all of that fun stuff. But however, if you could do me one favor, Xirtus, if you could type in, go to styleweekly.com, the best of Richmond. This is something that I found out early last week, so it's kind of one of the, no, that's not, type in the best of Richmond on, type in Style Weekly Best of Richmond. See if that comes up. Where is it? I think that's it. Yes, there we go. So, well, you're supposed to click. Is that the right one? That looks different, but I think you click on that. It's going to take you to a, there it is. That's the one I was looking for. So if you scroll down, I believe you're going to go to a couple of different categories. The first one is going to be people and places. You go down to media personality.
This is like a test.
You type in my name. Well, here's the thing about this. I didn't realize about this until about a week ago. And then they were like, oh, by the way, in order to get on the ballot for voting, you got to sit there and have everybody type your name in for like all the way until the end of the month. And I said, well, now you tell me about now that the month's halfway over. Now we're going to have another one of these in May, but it's going to be a little bit different. And that's the real one. But however, this is the one that is until the 29th. Media personality under people and places. And then also if you go to arts and culture, that's going to ask you for some information so to prevent cheating. They're not going to blow up your phone or whatever. I mean, not blow it up, literally, but
where's Puppet? Is Puppet somewhere here? No?
I
You're going to
was
go to radio
literally
show.
just thinking.
Arts and culture, radio show.
It's really racist that you don't have a nomination for best puppet. They have best reggae artist, but not best puppet. Like, what world are we living in? I just don't know.
And these are media awards,
Listen,
right?
we're living in a world where humans are considered puppets. That is the world we're living in, where humans are sitting there and they say, oh, look at all these puppets. And you know what? I should be upset and offended. But you know what? I'm not.
Come up with a better term.
Sam?
I'm not.
I'm going to nominate you.
Otherwise,
I'm nominating you for. I'm nominating
Anderson
Sam for best. I'm nominating Sam for best reggae artist as well.
There you go. So
he's a felt-based life form.
Every single day between now and the 29th. That would just definitely help us out. I'm not really sure if we'll get too far, but there is another one happening in May, and there'll be more information about that. But whether
he's made of synthetic fibers, if he's made of cotton or some sort of poly, you're still carbon-based life form. So you should be included in. I was trying to say felt-based life form, but it's still carbon. You know,
you're still
carbon-based life form. I like that. That's a good one. I should use that one from here on out. But guys, like I said, at Sam Newsman, you're going to find me all over social media. I do reels every single day, 9 a.m. to noon, every single Saturday morning on the only radio show, award-winning radio show, dedicated to the magic and nostalgia of Saturday morning, hosted by me, a real media puppet. From the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Ubermeme.
Has not aged a day since Roswell. Guys, we need to know a secret.
What's really up? Who knows what's happening?
He's doing that thing where you feel like you just have to, No, when Sam's done,
he signs in, Roger
drops the mic.
The question is, will he be in the after show? But, you know. Well, I would just like to say again, thank you for having me on for the first time, Xirtus, as usual.
Good. It was a lot of fun.
It's always the first time.
Newsman, the puppet.
I've met a lot of cool, awesome people here, man.
Hey,
Yeah, and Andreas, I did add you on Instagram. I'll show you a few things, but yeah.
Dude, sweet. I appreciate that you were here. I might be doing a show later with Ian Crossan. I'll see how it goes, but otherwise, it was great. It was a wonderful Monday, and I'll see you guys as soon as possible. God bless you. Be safe.
See you.
All right.
Bye.
respond so long as I'm in this Oval Office.